Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back with another interview, and this one is a special one for sure. We are here live with Rando. If you haven't seen him already, or know who he is, I mean, you've seen him if you watched Monday Night Raw. He was a security guard. He was an extra backstage in the exclusive clip on YouTube in the red suit with Mad Cat Moss, and he's done a couple other things like in the MT and stuff like that. Um, yeah, Rando, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. So, what's we can go right from the gate. This is going to be kind of a flip from what we normally do here. Is normally there's like character based or normally it's hey, I don't know the person usually. So for anybody that doesn't know,
Right.
me and Rando are actually really good friends. Like we live in the same city. We're yeah. So we've known each other for about 8 years or so.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. I think it was about 8 years.
Yeah. Hard to believe. Hard
You
to
could tell
believe.
you could tell them how we met too. It was kind of along the lines of like it was entertainment, but it was a little different kind of entertainment. It's more of your background that you got right there.
Yeah. So if anybody that knows me and knows my background, that I love Halloween and love doing all that. There was a Halloween haunted house in my area called 13 Nights at Jiminy, and um, back in I don't remember what year we said it was, like 2017 or
It had
something
to be
like
like
that.
it had to be like I think I moved back here from Tampa in about 2015. It might have been right around there or a year later, and that was like one of the first things I did is I was like
Yeah,
I want to do this. This would be fun. This would be something fun. And
yeah,
it was. It was a
yeah.
blast.
And we were both like young. It seemed like then. Um,
Yeah.
had to reload. Hey, no worries. Thank you for coming back. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, yeah, we met at a haunted house, working together at a haunted house, and I just distinctly remember. I don't know if you still have the picture or not. I looked for it yesterday. I don't have it. Um,
I do. I do.
you do have it. Oh man,
I do have it.
there's a picture of all of us together. And this guy right here was in Finn Balor's face paint one day. The other night he was Darth Maul. Another night it was basically any like, and that's how we connected. We connected through talking about wrestling. And like when we were getting ready, people getting makeup on, we were talking about wrestling and all this, and so like we would connect that way, and then look at all these years later, and look where you are. So again, for anybody that's just joining
Yeah.
in, tell them how about yeah, go ahead and tell them what you've been doing and pretty much where you started out and everything, your history here.
Well, I mean, I started out here. It was one of those things like growing up watching it on TV. I remember, my grandparents lived next door to me, and our houses were connected through a basement. And when I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, I used to go over and bring over a tray of nachos and Pepsi and sit and watch it with my grandfather. We would watch it. Was at the time it was primetime wrestling and on Monday nights, and so it was before '93. This is I was doing this,
Before
and
my time.
that kind of dates how old I am. But I would go over there and we would watch it, and then as I got older, I would watch it after school. I would watch the old. They would rerun like AWA, I think it was on ESPN, and we would watch that. And my cousins would bring down pay-per-view VHS cassette tapes from Sunday pay-per-views like WrestleManias and things like that, and we would watch that together. And it was just something I always fell in love with. I always played sports growing up, like throughout school. I always played like baseball, football, hockey. I wrestled through high school and into college and stuff, and I just kind of was always just intrigued by like all of it. And back then we didn't know what we know it as now as like sports entertainment. It was larger than life guys. It was big superhero guys, and it was something that I always wanted to do. But again, back then, growing up, you thought you had to be 6'8", 6'5", 300 pounds. And as I got older, it was something I just kept it thinking about. And my mother told me, she said, if you graduate college, she's like, I will pay for you to go to wrestling school. So that was like my motivation. I went right here to BCC for my first 2 years and graduated. And I said, all right, I graduated. She's like, well, there's more just than a 2-year degree. So I ended up transferring. I went out to Westfield State. And when I went to Westfield State is when I found Chaotic Wrestling. And Chaotic Wrestling was based in North Andover. And they had just really opened. And at the time, the trainers there were Mike Hollow and Duke Sullivan. And they were great trainers. They both came from Kowalski. And I was kind of like, this is where I want to go. I went down and checked it out for the day. It was about a 2-hour drive. And once I signed up and started, I was going Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 2 hours there, 4-hour practice, 2 hours home. And I was trying to go to school at the same time at Westfield State, and I was playing a little bit of baseball still. And it was kind of like a little overwhelming, but wrestling is what I wanted to do. And wrestling started taking priority over everything. And, you know, I started doing shows around here. At the time, it was like Dr. Heresy ran a show, and he would run it in like Chicopee, Mass, which was really close to Westfield. And I started doing more things with Chaotic. Like I never worked a Chaotic show, which is kind of funny because like they always have their students, and a lot of Chaotic guys now just basically work a lot of Chaotic. And I never really worked a Chaotic show. I think I maybe worked my first one, and I think it was a Battle Royal, and that was about it. And I did a Tom Pritchard camp there, and through the Tom Pritchard camp, I met Antonio Thomas, who was one of the Heartthrobs back, if you remember them, in the 90s. And he says to me, he goes, you know, why don't you come train at Kevin Landry's? I'd probably been training at Chaotic for about 6 or 7 months. And Kevin Landry had a ring right in Chicopee. So now I was talking like instead of a 2-hour drive, it was more like a 40-minute drive from where I was living. So I started training there. I had to work with a lot of great guys, you know, there. Kevin was great. He was fantastic. I've been really lucky with trainers. Like they've all been really good. They've been really hard, but I like that. You know, they told me if it sucked. They told me if it was the shit. They were like, do it again. What was that? You know, keep going. I want to see that again. You know, so it was great. And, you know, I worked around here, and finally it was like 2007. So this was around 2003 or 4 when I started. So about 2007, I ended up moving down to Florida. I got down to Tampa, and I lived down there with my girlfriend at the time, and started wrestling. I wanted to try to find a place, and I found a little storage unit that had a ring in it. And I was like, all right. So I go there, and there's these 2 British guys that just got released from FCW, and they were training there. And so I started training with them. And one of them is, to this day, one of my best friends. And so one day I get there, and Prince Iake is there. I don't know if any of you guys remember Prince Iake, but he was, you know, WCW lightweight champion, WCW TV champion. Started training with him. And so I had, you know, really great trainers throughout, no matter where I went. I learned a lot of things, a lot of different styles and a lot of different things. I was never like a high flyer. I never took like high risk moves. I think I came off the top rope maybe twice. I always like kind of stayed in my comfort zone. But I got to work a lot down south. Once I moved down there, I worked a lot down there. I did some Atlanta, some Tennessee, went to Nashville. And that was great. And then around like 2014, I started tapering off with like wrestling, and I was a personal trainer. And I had gotten married, and it was kind of like, all right, well, this is real life now, you know. I'm in my late 20s. I've been wrestling. I love it. But, you know, I'm personal training. That's taken up a lot of time. And I love that, too. And then before I knew it, I ended up moving back here. I was divorced, and I started thinking about wrestling again. And I really wasn't in the shape I was in. Even though I was a personal trainer, I didn't have a lot of time to train myself. So I'd kind of gotten smaller, lost a lot of weight and everything. And I ended up, my buddy Shooter Storm, who recently passed away, he calls me up. He had just moved up to New York, back to New York. And he goes, why don't you come work a show for me? I said, I ain't no shape to work. He goes, it's just a battle royal. I'll just put you in the battle royal. So I went up there, and it was a great experience. It was Kevin Nash was on it. Scott Norton was on it. Bob Holly was on it. I had a blast doing it. And then just again, here comes wrestling back into my life. Like, I'm like, all right, I can't not do this anymore. But I think like the big thing was like, it really was little stuff throughout the next couple of years. Nothing really major. I did a couple more shows with Shooter, and back in like 2018, I had the opportunity to do extra work at the Boston Garden, and that was like the big thing. Like I was like, oh man, all right, this is gonna be awesome. I went and didn't do anything that night, and that was pretty much it. Then we had like COVID basically hit a little while later. Everything shut down.
Yeah.
And wrestling and everything in wrestling was gone again. And you know, I was home. I was happy. I was doing what I was doing here. I was working, and I was telling you this, I think last night when we talked, and I said, you know, people were asking me, they saw the posters up for a World of Hurt wrestling, you know, show that was coming here. And people were asking me, oh, are you on that? Are you going to do that? You know, and I said, no, I'm not on that. So again, I contacted Shooter, and I said, well, what do you know about Shane Alden, who does the booking for World of Hurt? He goes, he's a great guy. He's like, call him, message him, tell him you live in Pittsfield. He'll book you. He'll put you on the show. So I did, and Shane just basically was like, absolutely. He's like, I'll put you in. You know, I was like, I'll just do a battle royal, whatever you want me to do. Like, I'm not fussy. And he says, no, you're going to have a match. And so I worked Owen Brody, who was excellent to work with. I got to the building that night, and I found out I was working with him. And we started talking, and we almost like instantly had the same idea of what we wanted to do together. And I knew it was going to be, you know, pretty good. And for me, it was going to be special because I was in my hometown for the first time ever wrestling. I'd never wrestled in Pittsfield before. So my father was there front row. My girlfriend was there with her son front row. I had like 30 other people there to support me. One of my buddies, Jim, actually brought a big, huge cardboard cutout sign with the hashtag Rando on it. And, you know, it was great. And, you know, I left there and I was just like, man, I haven't loved wrestling this much in a long time. Like everything else in my life was really good. And now here comes wrestling again. It's like, now it was fun again, you know, because I wasn't looking for the big contract. I wasn't looking for any of that kind of stuff. And so I decided, well, I'm going to email WWE again and see about like some extra work. I'd love to do that again. Maybe I'll get on this time, you know? And so I did. I had emailed WWE Talent Relations and got an email back that they were going to use me in Worcester this year. So I said, awesome, SmackDown in Worcester. And the guy who had ran Talent Relations at the time had left the day after WrestleMania. So now I start getting worried, like, great, is everything going to change? So I emailed, you know, the head of it, and they gave me the new contact, and I got an email back within a couple days from, I think it was like 2 days actually, from Ken Doan, who was now the head of Talent Relations. And I'm like, he wanted me to, he was like, no, you're good. So I ended up doing Worcester, Buffalo, Albany. Then I did Uniondale, the pay-per-view on Sunday, and then I did Monday Night Raw. And I was ecstatic with that. I was like 6 shows in like 2 weeks. I got used for that Madcap Moss segment in the back on WWE exclusive, SmackDown exclusive, which was awesome. And I was an EMT in one of the matches for Veer. And then I got that spot on Monday with Bobby Lashley, and it just really made everything like just fall into place. Like it was just all still fun again. Like those 6 days, I couldn't wait to get to work. I couldn't wait to get on the road. I couldn't wait to travel, and I couldn't wait to get to the building. Because when I get there, like I watch everything that's going on. I pay attention. Like I don't overstep my boundaries. I don't do anything, you know, that's stupid that, you know, people you could do. There's a lot of stupid things people could do and probably have done. But I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what I'm asked, and I'm happy to do any of it. So for me, it was a great experience to be there 6 days in a row. I got to know and meet like a lot of the crew, like different members of the crew, like just all the different sides of it, you know, and the people involved. And it was great. And to be able to like get to do that final spot on Monday with that, you know, that really brought it really to to the best, to me, like the best thing could have happened and the best way it could have ended for the 6 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I do still have more that I've got lined up for extra work that I'm hoping still stays, you know, true and it still moves forward. And, you know, I was telling you this last night too, like you look and you go, you're wishing the next couple weeks of your life away to get back to that, you know, because it's like, you just can't wait to get there. And even if you're sitting around all day and you're just doing nothing, just the things I take in, like just watching everything go on and how every part of it works is kind of what I do. And
because it's
I
not
make
work
mental
at
notes.
that point, you know. It's just having fun, you know.
It is right. It is work, but not really, because it's like they say, you know, find something to do and get paid for it that you love, and you never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's basically what it was. So to be there, and even being away from my family for those like 6 days, you know, the first day I was, you know, gone for those 3. Well, around Worcester and Albany was kind of good because I was in between home and staying overnight here and there. But, you know, the last one where I did the Uniondale, Providence, and Hartford, I was gone for like 5 days over the 3 days of the shows. But every time I got into that building, man, I couldn't wait. And I didn't want to leave. I was like the first one there, you know, and I'd wait till the very end to leave. Like, you know, I was the last one to walk out of the building because I didn't want to miss any of it. I wanted to take it all in. And I went into those situations of being an extra, of not having expectations of doing anything, and anything that was given of me, you know, given to me or asked of me to do, I did it. And that was the best part of it, is it wasn't work. You know, at that point, it was just like you don't have that contract, and that's okay because you're still doing what you absolutely love at like the highest level. Because WWE will always be the highest level to me. Just because that's what I grew up on, and that's from professional wrestling and its transition into sports entertainment is phenomenal in all aspects of that industry, like watching it and being a part of it. It doesn't matter if you're not doing anything or if you're doing something small or if you're
Helping
wrestling
build the ring and all that, yeah.
And it takes all those guys, you know, it takes every single one of those guys. And just like it does on the independents, it takes every single person on the independents to do what they need to do to get that show to work in the right, proper, functioning order. And, you know, now it's like I said, I can't wait. And it's like you're wishing I can't wait till that next time. I can't wait to get on the road. I can't wait to walk in that building in my suit. I can't wait to go see the trainer. I can't wait to go to catering and eat. It's like just all those little things that you just are so blessed to be able to do. And not everybody gets the chance to do it. You know, there's a million people out there who are trying to get to do it, and very few of us do. And we talked about the fact that there's a lot of guys who started out being extras,
Yeah,
you know,
is.
and moved on to bigger and better things. And, you know, if that was the case that happens with me, that's absolutely fantastic. If it doesn't, I'm never going to be like, you know, oh, why did it happen to this guy and not me? It's a game of whatever they're looking for at that certain point in time is in what they need is what they're looking for. And if they find it in somebody they don't find it in you, but they find it in somebody else, then I'm happy for those other guys. All those other guys that I've worked with as extras, I'm just as happy for them when they get something and I don't, that I'm just like, you guys are doing exactly what I would be doing. I don't have any ever say like, well, why'd this guy get it or why'd that guy? Oh, he knows somebody. I don't play that. I'm just ecstatic to be there one way or another, you know.
So we're gonna throw it to the chat. We got a bunch of comments and a bunch of people chiming in. So first off, William Hensey, really good to see you here, bud. It's been a long time since I've seen your name pop up anywhere. But going back, we got so many comments. Going back, he said in '93 I was 17. Dalton Riley wants to know if you know anything about SWA. I know that answer already. That we were talking about a little bit yesterday, and yeah, not really. So for anybody that's new joining into the chat, I also, you know, me and Rando are friends personally as well. We live literally in the same city. Like, I could literally walk to his house if I wanted to right now. But, you know, I don't walk anymore.
And I literally asked if we were going to do a face-to-face interview, if it was going to be over Zoom, and you were like, I've never really had that opportunity.
I just, I don't have the equipment, and I never had anybody want to do one face-to-face yet. So I was like, But we also have a couple of people. William Hensey ever wants to know. Well, you answered one of his questions inadvertently, so he says thank you for that. He wants to know, did you ever try any MMA?
No, I did think about it. I did think about it for a little while. There was a point where, like, when it was in between the wrestling, and I was kind of like, you know, maybe I should try some MMA and see how I do in that. And then I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, I wrestle pretty safe. I've luckily never been hurt in like the 15 plus years I've been doing it.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood now, please. But then there was a part of me that just kind of wanted to test my ability to like see what it would be like in that cage and like what my mental preparation would be to get ready for something like that, because I love the whole part of training for everything too. Like, I love being in the gym. Like, I wake up at 4:45 in the morning and do my morning cardio, have a coffee, watch TV.
Man, that's when I go to sleep.
Yeah, and it's like, then I go on to my daily routine and go to work, my regular job. I love my regular job, so I can't complain about that. I move heavy industrial kitchen equipment. So I work at B&G Kitchen Supplies. So for me, I'm working out all day long, and we're on the road all day long. And I'm lucky enough to have a boss who's great that lets me, you know, use the time that I want to go do this because he loves the fact that I do it. And so when I come home, I'm happy. They love it. I'm happy. I'm ready to go back to work and do my normal thing. And then I go to the gym at night. I usually go with my girlfriend at night. And it's just like, man, it's like just to train for something like MMA, I don't know how I would prepare for it, but I think I would be able to mentally prepare for it and physically prepare for it, but I just don't know how I'd fare. You know what I mean?
Be like CM Punk, one and done?
Yeah. I mean, I might be just one and done. I might go, that ain't for me. You know, that's not for me.
Stick to the Wii boxing, right?
Yeah, I think it takes a certain type of person to do the MMA, and you know, but it's something I have considered. You know, and who knows, maybe I would someday say, you know, sure, why not? Let's train for it and see how it goes. You know, maybe do a couple of spars and see how those go. And you know, you never know. Never say never. You could maybe see me in a cage somewhere someday.
Yeah. Dalton Riley wants to know, and okay, he wants to know, will Bray Wyatt ever come back? If you know that, I said, well, yes, we know that, but we'll have to kill you if we ever had to tell you. So.
Oh, I have no idea about that. I hope he does. I'd like to see him come back. I think his character was, you know, great.
You're not supposed to give that away, man.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, you know, I think everything that he did was great, and he was one of the reasons why I actually started watching it again.
Yeah.
Was with that whole Wyatt family. I loved watching that when the lights went out and the candles were out, all the cell phones were up, and man, that really got me. That was something that I just, as a fan, I was like, wow, this is.
Have you seen
good.
that in
like
in the arena, like actually in person with all the people with their phones out?
I was there for one of the pay-per-views in Tampa as a fan, not like working or anything like that. I was there for it, and when he came out, like I loved it. The music, just the dark, the everything was so cool to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Like I said, I'm still a wrestling fan. Like, I'm still, you know, a fan. I think we all are. I mean, that's why we got into it, you know.
And then EBK said, "Yo, Justin, it's Q."
Hey, how's it going, Q?
He said you'll know who he is.
Yes, I do. He's a good friend of mine too. Good to see you're listening, Q. Good to see you're listening.
So William, you said you have a good couple questions, but don't know how to ask. Just fire them off. We're
I'll ask to my best of my ability, you know.
Yeah. Do you know Rando? William saying me no. Coaster does. He's a wrestler magnet. I mean, yeah, kinda. But like I said, we know each other way before this. Like, I wasn't even doing anything with YouTube when I first started talking to you. Like, I was just casual.
I wasn't even wrestling at the time.
Yeah. It's just something that we just started talking about.
Yeah.
And What's Rando's at on Twitter? You don't really do Twitter, do you?
I do. It's actually, I think it's Logan X. If you look up Logan X, I am on Twitter at Logan X. That was an old ring name I used, was Logan X, when I was down in Florida. And I should probably change it because I changed my Instagram now is Rando XXL.
Yeah.
And that's my Instagram.
William Mansey said, prepare for MMA, walk in front of a bus.
Yeah, right? Basically.
Especially the ones in this city? Come on now.
I know, right?
You don't have to walk in front of a bus. They'll just freaking hit you anyway.
Yeah.
Ah, man. So, hey, can you go? Are those pictures on their wall there? Are they able to be taken off or get a closer view of them? Or for anybody that hasn't known, he was the guy that took the Bobby Lashley spot where Bobby Lashley threw him into the post. He was that guy. You kind of oh, there we go. Yep, he was on his shoulders and he ate face first ring post. How did that feel to do that?
Not that great.
As you would imagine.
No, it was great though to just be able. Like I said, if they ask me to do something, if I'm there, like I'm not gonna say no and I'm not gonna complain and I'm gonna do it. And yeah, it was just fantastic to be able to do that and know that it was gonna be something that was gonna be like memorable. You know what I mean? Like watching it back, I'm like, people are gonna remember stuff like this. Like when he came out and just went through all three of us like he did. You know, it's a great thing to just be like part of something that's like bigger than just, you know, thrown out of the way or step aside or, you know, something like that. So when they ask me to do anything, like there's nothing I wouldn't do basically, you know. I even said, like, if they told me to go out there and do comedy, I'll go out there and do comedy. If they wanted me to go out there and do serious. Like, to me, it's all part of that business, and that's where it's evolved so much from where I had said to you about, like, becoming more as an extra than enhancement talent. Back in the older days, it was enhancement talent because they used everybody as wrestlers. And we came in and you wrestled that night. Everybody who was there was going to have a match. Now it's more so of like the whole sports entertainment aspect of it is like you could be anything. You don't know what you're going to, you know, be doing when you get there. And you don't know till you get there. Because people will ask me like, oh, do you know what you're doing? I have no clue. I have no clue until the minute that they say, this is what we want you to do. And I'm like, okay, lead the way. Tell me where I got to go, who I got to see, and what I'm going to do. And I think that that's like, you know, even like with the one with Madcap that I got to do, you know, again, like that was, I know I'm getting that ring in there, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
But even with that, it was like a last minute, pulled me aside and I got to do it. And to that, I was like, you know, really kind of thrilled about that, you know, because that was really the first thing. It gave me a lot of like exposure because you were the one who brought it to my attention that it was viewed by like 56,000 people.
Oh yeah. No pressure.
So I was like, whoa! I was like, I didn't expect that. So it gave me a lot of exposure to that. And I just, you know, when I go and do this stuff, it's like I just really want it to be as entertaining as it possibly can be. And that's my biggest goal is like everybody who paid to come there came to see everybody, but I make it personal that like if you're spending money to come and watch a show and you're coming to an independent show like World of Hurt, I told you we had it in Pittsfield. I think we drew like about 100 and well, the pre-sale tickets were about 120. And I think we ended up with like about 170 in attendance, which is pretty good for an independent show. It couldn't have held any more than that.
Yeah.
So we were pretty much at capacity, and it was great to just, you know, be able to perform in front of my hometown and do what I love to do. And everybody was like, man, I didn't know you could do that. You know, I didn't know you could do that. Are you all right? How are you feeling today? Are you hurt? You got to be hurting, you know? And it's like, your body gets so used to it to where like, you know, yeah, you're always sore. You're always hurting. But it just makes you feel good when you have that many people that come out and, want to see what you do. And you think about the fact that they are paying their hard-earned money and they're bringing their kids. And I told you about that too, with like fans. I remember being a fan, man. I remember always wanting to meet the wrestlers. I remember always wanting to get pictures with them and autographs and things. And, to me, that's like a big thrill, is when I'm there and there's kids that want to, come up to you and take pictures with you. And, now we have cell phones that everybody can get pictures. So it's great. Right. I remember one of my very first shows, it was still in the days of Polaroids.
Oh, wow.
They had the Polaroid cameras at the ring to take photos for like $5 with the wrestlers, so that they could have the picture instantly, because we didn't have picture camera phones back then and things like that. I say back then, man. Listen how old I sound.
I bet William remembers those days, huh, William? Yeah. So, I mean, you said it yourself. You told me. So, the way that I came about all this, too, is, it's crazy, too. Like, how I said I know you as well. Like, to see you on, like, the show and like, the exclusives and all that, and then, like, I mean, I see you at our store every now and then, too. It's just so real. Be like, what? Like, the same guy?
Yeah.
But it's like, I forgot how, like, I think I messaged you, like, about the Mad Cat thing, right? Because I found it, and then...
Yes, yeah.
I was, like, asking you how many takes it was, and, like, all this and that, and, like, how that happened. Like, you said yourself, you don't know what you're going to do until you get there, and you just found out minutes beforehand, right?
Yeah, it was, like, literally probably, like, 5 minutes. And it was like almost the end of the night, and I'm standing there and I'm in my suit. Because my thing is like I get right back into my suit. If I find out I'm not doing anything that night, then I go right back. I change back into my suit and I watch. And again, I'm always watching. Like, I'm paying attention to like what's going on. Like, like I listen, I look, and I don't interrupt people. I don't talk I just do my thing and enjoy and take it all in. And I just happened to be standing there by myself, watching on a little monitor. And so they came up to me and said, "Can we use you real quick?" And I went, "Absolutely." And I had no idea what for. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I'm in a suit. And it turned out like that was really cool to just be a part of that. And just like the next morning to be able to go on to WWE.com and see my face on there, I was like, whoa. I was like, I did not expect this. And then when I got your message that it had, I think at that point, 30,000 views, is when I started really paying attention to it and going, I wonder how many people are going to watch this.
Yeah.
And I just kept watching it and watching it go up and watching it go up. And, people that I knew from high school were messaging me that they saw it. They watched the clip, or, they were saying how awesome it was that I was doing what I loved. And, it's like, yeah, it's just, like I said, it's a thrill to be able to do that. And to hear people be like, because of course when I say 18 years old, I'm going to be a professional wrestler, what do you think everybody said to me?
Yeah, okay, right?
Yeah, okay, you're not big enough. I'm only 5'7", 5'8" with boots on. So for me, it was like, I'm going to do it. And I started just getting into the weight room and training and working out. And it's funny because the way that I honestly started doing it was I read an article by D'Lo Brown about him trimming down when he was with the WWE because he had wanted to get into better shape. And I went, yeah, that's a good idea. I probably don't want to be out there being like out of shape and, going there, and you see like, when they do like the Tough Enough shows and stuff, and you just see like other guys get out there and they can't do it, and it's like something they really want to do, but you got to show up in shape, and that's the thing. Like, I prided myself on the fact that like if I'm gonna get this ever opportunities or whatever, I'm gonna show up in shape at least. If I'm not any good and they don't want me, okay, but at least they're gonna say like, well, he does look like a wrestler. And so that was the one thing I really got into, was like making sure that I just started training and started getting in the weight room and started like eating better and things like that. And before I knew it, it was like a total transformation. By the time I was like 22, 23, and living in Florida, I was like, and now at 41, oh, I said my age, 41 now, but at 41, I'm probably in the best shape that I've ever been in, mentally and physically, you know? And I take pride in that. Like when I get to the building and people find out how old I am, they're like, no, you're not. You're not 41. And I'm like, yeah, I am. So I think that in speaks for itself, is the way that I train. Like I said, I'm up at 4:45 in the morning to come down, and I got a stair stepper at my extra room in here in this wrestling room that I have, with a TV, and I watch wrestling on YouTube. I watch matches, old matches, and do my cardio for 30 minutes. I eat breakfast, and then I'm off to do my regular day. And then a lot of times it's either, if I'm really tired when I get home, I've already put in my cardio in the morning, but I at least still weight train three to 4 days a week. And I'll keep doing that, because to me, that's a big part of it, is looking the part too, and sometimes it can be a good thing and sometimes it can be a bad thing, because they may not be looking for somebody that's in great shape, or they might be looking for somebody that's shorter or taller or heavier or stronger, or you never know. And that's the thing. And so I'm just prepared to do, be prepared as best I can for what I think, that I want to be looked at for, is like, he's in shape. What can we have him do?
Yeah. Now, if
so far,
if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about with the whole Matt Cat thing, if you haven't seen, because it wasn't necessarily on the TV. It was an exclusive on their YouTube and stuff. So go ahead and explain what exactly happened there. Because as somebody that watched it and could see it, like, I wish I could be able to play it on here. I didn't think of that. Plus, I don't know if WWE, like, oh no, you can't do that. But
yeah.
like, for somebody that watched it and like viewing it, compared to somebody that was actually there living it, it was just you and him. Yeah, explain to the people that didn't get a chance to see it what exactly you're going on about before the Manicat thing.
Basically, I was just walking backstage, and Happy had just sold his Andre the Giant trophy, and so Madcap came back looking for Happy, and as he came through the door, there was nobody around but good old me standing there. And I turned the corner, and he came down the hallway and started yelling at me and asking me where he was, and I had no idea. I said, I have no idea where he is, and he just kind of calmed down and said, I'm sorry, you're right, and kind of walked off on his way, going to look for Happy. But I loved it personally, because I mean, I liked the whole, when I watched it back, like him just startling me, and I'm back, and what's going on? Like, here I am just walking in the back, and here comes this big 6'3", in fantastic shape, Madcap Moss, and
with
I'm
overalls and all.
with his suspenders, and I mean, you look at the picture, and I'm, up to here on him, and he's, it was funny, because my girlfriend's daughter said to me, she goes, I would have probably cried if he yelled at me like that, and it was just really fun, and it was really the first experience I had for, like, and to do like an on-camera work where it was only just him and I, and I was really appreciative that he liked it, and that they liked it, and that's all I can hope for, is that when I get asked to do something, is that they like it, and I do my best. I do my best. I put 110% into what they're asking me to do, and I hope it's good enough. And so far, knock on wood, I haven't heard anything bad about the two things I had to do.
And I love the fact that he walks away, and you just turn around, just like slowly walk back.
Yeah, yeah. I just straighten my tie, and that's why I said, like, I don't mind. I like the comedy stuff. I love the comedy aspect of it. I love all of it. I love when they have a little bit of everything for everybody, because, like, to me, that's what wrestling is great about wrestling is like, yes, I know it's like people want to see these 5-star matches and they want to see like all these great, long, perfectly executed like matches, right? And that's great. But like it's always, I mean, wrestling came from like, Carney, like is was basically where it came from. When you go to a carnival, like what do you want? You got clowns, you got animals, you got scary rides, you got fun rides, you got love rides, you have all this stuff. It's all these things in one place that you pay to go to see. So when you go to see a wrestling show and you're just hoping to see wrestling, that's okay. But like when you're going to WWE for sports entertainment and you're going to see stuff like that, like you want like all these emotions, like you want to see all that kind of stuff. Like you want to go through like, being scared, or you want to be going through like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened, or, love situations, or just everything. And that's what makes it to me like the coolest, and why I've still always loved it. And all the changes that it's gone through and over the years, to me, it's kind of evolved perfectly with our times, and it's flowed the way it's supposed to. And it's there's been low times and high times with wrestling and things like that, and with sports entertainment, and it is what it is. It's just like anything else in life. There's highs and lows, and you get back on track and you find out what's working, and when it starts working again, it's right there. And that's how I view it. Is like there's always different scenarios, situations. So for me, doing that little segment was 20 seconds, but it was super fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed.
William said, yeah, you gotta put them over. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't say anything, like nothing. All I did was just react.
Did they tell you
You
to say
know,
anything, or did they be like, no, you
no,
can't say nothing?
no, just I just reacted.
Hmm.
And it just was it. When I watched it back, I liked it. I said I did. I reacted like perfectly, like that I would if a 6'3" big dude came back all pissed off, looking for somebody who stole something from him. And it was fun to me, and I was glad that it worked out. And like I said, I had got to do Monday Night Raw, and when I got to do the security, it's like I'd been a security guard in my life, so it wasn't going to be hard to go out there and be security. But
It's funny you just mentioned that. Somebody just said that they want to see security come out and wrestlers not lay waste to them so easily.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of one of those things when I look at it, I go, I've worked security before, but I've never had a 6'4", 6'5". I don't know how tall Bobby Lashley is, but 300 pounds guy coming storming down. That's a little intimidating too. You're kind of like, I can only imagine what that would be like in a situation at a club or a bar in your security. Especially when it's late at night and somebody's all mad about something and they come storming through and you gotta try to stop them. There ain't no stopping them.
So that's a perfect segue into the whole Bobby thing. So on the top picture up there, you have up there you standing there, waiting for the segment to start, I presume, right?
Yes.
So what was going like? First off, you were able to go through the curtain and walk down the ramp to get to there. I mean, obviously there was probably no music playing, right? Because it was during commercial or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
still, to be able to like, did you guys walk down the middle of the ramp? Did you guys walk on the side? Like,
just went right down, and got to pass through. We had the velvet ropes set up like you would at a club or a lounge.
And you guys, I'm sure, took that moment into like getting out and sitting out in front of the.
I love the fact that we went out there during the commercial break, because I was standing there taking it all in, man. I was like looking. I was trying not to like move, like really, like I was just kind of there, but I was taking it all in, like looking at the whole surrounding situation, going like, this is what I've wanted to do for 20 years, was to be in this moment of like looking at all these people who were there, and to know that what's about to happen is about to happen, and I'm part of it when they come back from that commercial break.
Yeah,
And
was
it's just
that
like
that was your first time on the
on
stage,
TV.
right?
Yeah,
Like on the
yeah,
stage and like seeing like
yep,
the rampway and all that. So like I can only
yep,
imagine like you watching it from the fan bit of aspect of it. Now you're like, oh, this is what it looks like, huh? Like this is like,
yeah. It's incredible. It's like, I mean, when you're 12, 13 years old and you're sitting at home watching Monday Night Raw with my grandfather, and I'm thinking to myself, like, that's one of the things that run through your head. Like, I did not think 15, 20 years later, almost 20 years later, because Raw started in 93 and it's 2022, that I'd be standing there about to be live on Monday Night Raw. It's a really surreal, like, you know, moment that you're just like completely grateful for. And that's one thing, like, I can't think, if nothing ever comes of anything, like, I thank WWE for that moment alone, to have stored up here in my memory bank and a couple of pictures on the wall. And I mean, that to me is just something that I can look back on and just be like, yeah, there was that day that I was part of live Monday Night Raw in Hartford, Connecticut, which I had gone to many, many Monday Night Raws in Hartford, Connecticut before. And just to be able to say, like, yeah. And you're right, you're standing there just taking it all in, kind of like shaking your head, like, it's a dream, right?
yeah.
No, no, it's not. This is finally happening here.
And
And
now
that's
when you're standing there like in the first picture there, like I'm assuming you guys know exactly like the whole segment and everything gonna happen, or did they tell you any of that, or you just know okay
yeah,
Bobby's gonna
I
come
mean,
down?
you have an idea. I mean, you have to know, you have an idea of what's going to go on, but there still ain't nothing like when the music hits and you realize, here he comes.
Oh yeah, oh boy, like
You know that music hits and you're like, here he comes. Like, all right, we gotta, like, what's going on? This is real. This is real time. And you're thinking to yourself, like, and all it leads up to is the fact that, like, that one thing that I took, getting right into that post. And I mean, I went like a helicopter. Like, that was, I did. And all those years of training and everything like that is like what leads up to, like, that one thing. You're like, this is where, it kind of comes to, like, this one thing. Hopefully there's more great moments. Hopefully I do get the opportunity to do a lot more. But at that time, that's the best thing right there. That's, what I'm shooting for, is make this the best thing that I can possibly make it, with what I'm getting to work with right here, right now, in this moment.
and it's not like
And
you
you
guys
just,
practiced that, right? Like it was
no.
first time I ever took it.
So you're yeah. So I'd never taken that before, and like, it's awesome. It's really, it is a surreal feeling when you think about all that.
Like
And
that's
it's just,
something
like
that
I said,
I
it makes
always
you want.
wondered. It's like how do you guys know how to take like the stuff that you never take before? Like how
You
do you
just
know how to land it, or land right, and all that? Like
you always just, your body knows. You just adjust. Like, it happens so quick. Things happen so quick. Like, even when I work an indie match, like, things sometimes don't work out the way that they're supposed to, and the way that you think they're going to work out. And you just gotta roll with it. And you just, with all the years that I've done it, you just have that experience to where you're like, okay, we gotta do this, or I gotta do this, or this is what I gotta do. I mean, people get hurt. People get really hurt, where it's like serious, like, you can't stand up, or somebody's knee goes out, or somebody, you never know what's going to happen. And it's that's where the whole thing, when everybody's like, oh, is wrestling real or fake, it's like, man, you don't even ask that question, because it's like, it's just like any other athlete, man. You can do something so little. I mean, look at Dustin Pedroia when he slid into second base, something he's done 9 million times, right? And that was essentially like the end of his career.
yeah,
That was it. Something just as simple as that, sliding into second base. And and there you go. You never know what's going to happen. And
or Vince
that's one
McMahon
thing.
with his quads at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, anything. You never know. You never know what's going to happen when you're doing stuff that's, physical. I mean, like I said, I played sports growing up: baseball, football, wrestling, hockey, and it's like, there's just, you never know. You can never account for anything. When I played baseball one time, I had a bat hit a rock. The rock went through the catcher's mask and cut the cornea of my eye. And I had to go to the emergency room and wear an eye patch for like 3 weeks. I mean, it's like, what are the chances of that happening? You know, so it's, you can't ever expect, it's always expect the unexpected, you know?
Yeah. So from
and just stay calm and learn how to handle situations, you know?
Yeah. So from being there Raw SmackDown to doing the indie scene again, like I'm sure the difference of that is night and day, right?
Yeah, I've thought about that now. I'm like, man, you know, I think a lot of it'll be that I'll have a lot more confidence in the things that I do, just for the simple fact of being on that stage and then that level of where you always wanted to be. And again, like, I didn't have a match in those 6 times that I was there the last 2 weeks. I'd love and hope that I have one in the future. If I don't, it still makes you think about like how much more confident you are in the things that you do, because you have to be confident when it comes to working with WWE like that. You have to be like, okay, like, I can't screw this up. I can't do anything like stupid. I can't, you know, I have to, again, give it my best that I can possibly give it, and know that when I'm done, that's what I did, was gave it the absolute best I could, so that I don't walk away feeling like, man, you know, I really, really could have done this different, or I really could have, you know, done that, you know, which I do a lot in indie matches. Like, when I get done, I watch them back and I critique every little thing I do, you know, and I pull it apart and I'm like, that was awful. That was, oh, I didn't like that. Why did I do that? I never do that move. And you really can't. I think now I'll have a lot more confidence in that, and I'll look at it as like, because I mean, I treat it still like, you know, walking out in front of 200 people I still treat it like it's going to be, you know, Monday Night Raw, you know, because those people expect and deserve the same thing, paying to come see that show, that they do when they pay to go see WWE. I shouldn't give it any different just because it's a smaller scale, or,
Yeah.
you know, I shouldn't be lazy because there's only 30 people in the crowd tonight and I don't have to work hard. That's not an option for me. Like, I have to work hard, no matter if there's 5 people sitting there, you know, because it's like, at the end of the day, this is what I love to do, and I want it to be is good for the person that's sitting there that paid $10 to come to a Elks Club or a Boys and Girls Club, is the people who paid $150 to sit ringside at WWE. Like, I feel like it's if I'm gonna do it, I have to do it 110% at all costs, and whatever show I'm doing. And I do look forward to going and back to, like, World of Hurt. I was talking to you about that. Like, he's planning a show coming up in probably Rutland or Bennington, Vermont, and then coming back to Pittsfield. And I can't wait. You know, I can't wait to do those, because it's like, now I'm back onto that, like, absolute love of sports entertainment and professional wrestling, and I can't wait to be back out there, you know, doing what I love to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and of course, like you mentioned it earlier, you never know what you're gonna do until you get there. Like you said, you got your suit back on for the Matt Cat Moss thing. You didn't know. And they literally would just pulled you aside, be like, "Hey, like, come here for a second." Like, have
Yeah.
you thought of like what made you be in that like hallway? Like, what made you, like, what possessed you to be there at that hallway at that time? Because you told me before, like, there's many different places where you will watch a show at, or, you know,
Well,
whether it
I
be
stand. I mean,
catering or whatever. What made you be there at that right time, at that right spot?
I was just down there because, like, I had gotten back into my suit. It was about the end. Um, I knew that the show was coming to an end. Like, I knew we were going to be leaving soon. So I had just gone up to watch on a monitor, right? You know, I was far enough away from everybody. Like, I wasn't in anybody's way. I found a monitor that was kind of set off outside of the gorilla area, and I stood back and stood out of the way, stood there just watching from a little bit of a distance on the monitor, watching the show, watching what was going on. And nobody else was around. I don't know what everybody else was doing, or, I don't really pay attention to that. Like, I do my thing when I'm there. And like I said, that just happened to be right place at the right time. And anybody that could have been standing there could have got pulled for that. I just happened to be lucky enough that I was standing there watching and standing there in a suit and looked professional. And that's kind of what they were looking for at that moment. And just said, hey, we need you for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, because now look at where that turned into. I mean, it turned into
And
the
I don't
Bobby
know if,
Lashley and
yeah. And I mean, I felt great about that too. That was just, again, that they were more or less like looking for like a certain size or type or whatever to do security. And like I said, it just was, again, luck of the draw, basically, that like, hey, we're going to use you for this. You're going to be a security for the MVP lounge, which was ironic that when that's the name of your show. And when you said you're going on the MVP lounge, you're like, oh, you're going to be on the MVP lounge. Like, and I go, well, I hope it turns out better than it did last time for me.
Yeah, I mean, I got my own security behind me though.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's just all in fun and being able to just enjoy every moment that you get. Again, like I said, even if I'm not doing anything, I'm paying attention. I'm taking everything in. I'm watching what's going on.
And you're meeting people too. Like you told me that you had a run-in. Well, you had a story with Edge.
I got to talk. I got to talk to Edge for a little bit. He just had come over and sat with me and Shane at lunch, and we just chatted, small talk for about 20 minutes while we ate lunch, and it was just, again, another thing that was just kind of really cool to be able to just see that and walk away from that and kind of go like, man, this is stuff like when I was a kid I would have never dreamed. I'll give you the first time I ever did anything with anybody. I did an autograph signing in Florida. I was one half of a tag team champion. And the promotion I was working for had asked me, it was ICWF, and they had said, would you go and do autograph signing at a flea market in St. Pete? And I said, yeah, I can go and do that. That'll be great. And they said, well, you're going to be with Jake the Snake. And I was like, what? I'm like, holy crap. Because I had never actually worked with anybody that was like, somebody that I grew up that like was a legend to me, like watching, and it was just awesome to be able to just sit there with him and sign autographs. And I mean, it was funny because like, I remember everybody was coming up to him obviously and getting autographs, and nobody was really coming up to me. And I remember Jake looking over at me, and he looks over and he says, hey kid. And they had these big fans blowing in the flea market. And he said, you see all those big fans up there? And I said, yeah. He goes, those are the only fans of yours that are here. Wow. And I just started laughing, and I said, yeah. But I mean, he was really great. And I got to work with him again. The following, I think it was 2 nights later at our show, he was there. I love Jake the Snake. I absolutely love him. And I couldn't be happier how he is right now. And it's like, I think that's absolutely great, like with him and DDP. And that to me is just.
And that's what people don't realize too, is people don't realize that some of these wrestlers, they go into the indie scenes too. Like look at New England Wrestling when they brought in the Hardys, yep. Cody Rhodes, Jerry Lawler of all people was wrestling. Yeah. So it's like they goes both ways. You got the indie scene with people that people know.
Well, that's like the show we just had for World of Hurt. We had the Warlord.
Yeah.
And he was great. I mean, he was such a great guy to like just to meet and know that like I watched him growing up, like, and to see him and be able to get to the opportunity to shake his hand and just say, how you doing? My name's Justin. Nice to meet you. And that to me is just being able to be like, wow, man, like this is, as you get to do like independent shows when you're first starting and the guys that you get to work with and the guys that come to do autograph signings or appearances, I told you Kevin Nash, man, he was awesome. Like one of my favorites. Like got to meet him at when he did that show for Shooter that was Fight for Your Mind, which is was his promotion that he had done for his mother for Alzheimer's, and he had those guys in there, and get to meet Kevin Nash, and then see him again 8 years later, and he recognized me and said, "Man, you look great. You look great, man. Keep it up. Keep up. Doing whatever you're doing." Like that's, to me, is just is great. To those guys all, I've never had a bad experience with anyone that I've met. Like I know that there's people who you see them posting things on like legends and superstars who do their the indie shows after when they're getting older and stuff. And every single one that I've ever met, I've never had a bad experience with. I've never said like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that," or they were all. They've all been great. Like that, I've gotten to shake their hand and introduce myself and maybe talk to them for a few minutes and, walk away and go, "Man, that was surreal. That was awesome. I watched him with my grandfather growing up, like," and now I got to sit there and sign autographs with him or sit in the same locker room with him and, talk to him. And I'm grateful for all that stuff, and that's one of the things that like, just being involved in that business, even if you're never in that level of being able to go to WWE as under a contract or as an extra, like even working on the indies, you get to, there's so much gratification from being in the business that you love and getting to see these guys that you grew up watching and, meet them personally and thank them for getting you into it because you grew up watching them and that's what you wanted to do, was you wanted to do just like them,
What's up, Woken? Thanks for joining. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, so like when you were obviously like you took that move into the post, the helicopter thing, and then when you were laying there on the ground, I mean obviously they cut away and did their thing. Like how long were you actually laying there on the ground for? Like was it the whole time or like?
It felt like, I don't know, it really, time kind of moves just like really slow because you're just kind of like still kind of thinking like, what, that just really happened. You're kind of like, it's even like with matches when people ask me about matches too, like, "Oh, did you see me? I was there. Did you see me? I was there." It's like, man, I don't even register that crowd. Like once I'm in the ring, like I can't pick, like if I see you before the match, like if I'm up on the ropes or I look out, I can see people or I know where. For example, with World of Hurt, when my father was sitting ringside, and I knew where they were sitting, so like I was able to know where they were. But as for everybody else who was there, I was like, it was hard to pick people out. You really kind of just zone in. I mean, I know I do. It's like I zone in. I mean, I hear everything, and I feel like the energy from the crowd and things like that. But I mean, it's kind of like even with doing the spot with Monday Night Raw, that segment, like it doesn't even register to you that it's like being watched by millions of people at home. It's in that there's thousands in attendance. Like it really doesn't really register with you. It's weird. I mean, it doesn't to me. It may to other people, but to me, I'm just like, it was when it was done. I went back and I'm like, that was it. That just happened, and it went by like really fast. But yet really slow. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
in the moment, yeah.
In the moment, it's like really slow. But when it's all said and done, you're like, that was just like over.
Someone wants to know if you were milking it a little or were you just like, hey, no, I'm going to act like I'm out.
No, he got me he threw me pretty good. I mean, his helicopter, I mean, he's a strong dude, and
he looked like he legitimately threw you.
he really, I mean, if you watch it, he picked me up like I weighed about 5 pounds. It wasn't any effort on his part to get me up on his shoulders. And if you look at the others, I mean, that spine buster that he gave, that was a major spine buster. And I know that reading the comments from even watching the video back, people were like, holy crap. I mean, that was an intense spine buster that he gave. So, I mean, And that's what happens. Like when you're in that moment, like you really don't register like what's going on to the point where like you really do like some pretty incredible stuff, like, strength wise, or, just movement wise. Like you just really, I mean, when I landed pretty far from, if you watch it back, I watched it back. I didn't realize, like, when I landed, I pretty much landed all the way right over to the barrier, to the, to the side where the fans were sitting. And it's like, I pretty much landed right at that wall. So yeah, I had some air on that.
Now, did they? Because you said that you found out that you were gonna be, doing the VIP lounge security stuff like that. But did you did they go like, all right, so this one's gonna take the clothesline, this one's gonna take the spine buster, you're gonna take the helicopter throw, or was it like, did they kind of like ideas bounce back and forth? Did they get changed at all? Did like, cause you told me that it almost got scrapped, right? Like Vince almost he wasn't sold on it at
Yeah,
first.
they didn't. I don't think that they really wanted to do like the security at first. So it was kind of like one of those things. And that's the other thing, is you don't know when they're going. They can change in a minute. Man, they can have stuff planned, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, due to TV time, due to time restraints on like different segments, if something's longer, a match goes longer, a match goes shorter, like things can be added and taken away in the blink of an eye. So even when you're told that you're going to be working that night, like you really don't know if you're going to be working.
Right.
And so you kind of have to have like that mindset of like, okay, I'm happy for the moment, but could I be unhappy in 5 minutes if they come back and say, nah, we're not doing that now. Things changed.
Until the camera's
And
right there, right?
until you're right in that moment, like until I was standing right there, like I don't know if it's gonna happen. you know. So it's like until I was out there standing right there, you're just like, okay, now it's gonna happen. Now it's gonna go live, and there's no turning back now. But up until other points, you really just don't know. And that, I mean, that's exciting, and it can be, you know, disappointing, but there's always another day. There's always another day, and even if it was scrapped and I didn't get to do that, then I would have just said, okay, thank you, and I'll see you guys again, and hopefully next time we'll do something, and then, but yeah, just, ideas bounce back and forth. Things always, like you said, get changed, or things get moved around, and some things go earlier and don't go as long as they wanted to, or they go longer, and, you just kind of have to work with it. And again, it's really like, it's a lot of improv. Like, really, it kind of feels like a lot of improv when you're thinking about it. It's like live stage, like acting, it's like even if you think back to what we were doing, the haunted house, the Halloween haunted house, like,
Yeah.
I might 9 times out of 10 get the same reaction for something I did to scare somebody, and do it to somebody else, and they're like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, you're like, now or so you just got to always be on your toes and be ready for like anything that can change in the blink of an eye, and I don't even know, I've never had this situation happen. Like, I don't know if things could change from me being out there to right before it happens, something changes and it goes different, and now all of a sudden I don't know about it, but I just got to roll with it.
Yeah. Like if he all of a sudden
You
picked
gotta
you
pay.
up to do the hurt lock or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, you don't know. Like, I could be all of a sudden be like, whoa, where's this coming? You just never know. You just got to be on your toes. And that's where, like, the psychology of knowing wrestling comes into play.
Yeah.
Like, the psychology of, like, what would make sense. Like, if this was supposed to happen, but now it's not going to, what would kind of make sense? Like, what would I do in the real life situation of this? Where can I turn? Like, what skills do I know, like, would be able to get me out of this situation if it were to go different quickly? So it's really hard to explain. I don't think you really know it until you're in that situation. And thankfully, I didn't have to be put in that situation. But I think I probably, if it did go different, I probably would have handled it, as professionally as I could, and do it to my best, again, to my ability of, all right, we're going a different route here. And that would have been what I would have had to deal with at that time. But I guess you really can't make that decision until you're out there and it happens.
Was that the original spot for you, or was there something specific different? Or
no, that was originally how everything went perfect. Like, it really did. Well, to me, it went perfect.
Yeah.
And like I said, I heard good things, like, back there when I got back, that it was done good. It was liked, and again, that's all I could hope for, to just have another day. And that's because that's the last thing you want, is like the last day you're there for something to go bad,
Yeah.
and then have to go home and sit with that and wonder if you're not getting emails or you're not getting replied to because it wasn't good. And then you really start to question, like, did I really do that bad? Was that bad? Is that why they're so? I was pretty happy with the fact that, like, I heard good things, and I left the building happy and came home happy. And you know now I just look forward to, like, the next opportunity that I have, whatever it is. And it was kind of different because I know you said you spoke with one of the guys who had gotten to do the Veer match the week before.
Yeah, yep. Last Monday, or
And
last week.
I think I told you last night, it's kind of different going into SmackDown and Raw for those 6 days, knowing that on SmackDown and Raw you had Gunther and you had Veer, and we were getting matches. So you're kind of like walking in, going, like, sizing everybody up, because you're kind of like, well, who's bigger than me? Who's smaller than me? Who's got this look or who's got that look? Like, who's gonna get the match? Who's gonna get the match? Because everybody wants the match.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants. And I know that's what I want. When I sat there looking at the ring for 6 days, I just kept going, I want to be in. That's what I want to do. I want to be in there. I give it to me. Let me have it. I want to be in there.
You got close to the ring, though.
I got close to it.
You felt it.
Well, I mean, I felt it. Yeah, I got to feel it. But yeah, that's kind of the mentality you have, and it really very seldomly happens, I think, that there's two guys, one on each show, that are working with us. And that was kind of like the cool thing, because every day you went to work, you were like, oh, could this be me today? Could this be the day that I get it? Could I get it today? And but I was happy for all the guys who got to work with them, and I think they all did great too. I think they all got to do something that they dreamed of doing, being on SmackDown or Raw, and I think they all did a great job. I know Veer, when he was with in Buffalo for Raw, I did do an EMT spot for that. I did do an EMT spot for that one. It wasn't televised really, because we went out and we got him on the stretcher, but that was due to time on TV. We were just out there to get him out of the ring. And it was funny because I had told you, the guy who had the opportunity to work with Veer that night, I had wrestled many years ago in Florida.
Yeah.
For a promotion. So when he showed up in Buffalo and I'm in Buffalo, I haven't seen him in probably 12 years. I said to him, I go, we kind of like looked at each other, and I was like, oh man. And I said, hey, how you doing? And then when I got back to the locker room and he came back into the locker room, he goes, I totally didn't even realize I know that it was you. He's like, and I was like, yeah, we got to talking. And he goes, me and you and Jarrell Clark worked the triple threat match, right? And I said, yeah, we worked the triple threat match about 400 years ago. And, it was kind of funny because, you really, it is as big as the independent scene is, it still is really a small circle, and a lot of people, and that's the thing, is like you work with a lot of people in different areas, especially for me moving from here to Florida and getting to work with a lot of guys in Florida. That's a huge scene. Obviously, everybody knows that. That's where everything is.
Yeah.
And so for me to get to work with a lot of those guys, and it's hard because, like, there's very few guys that I stayed friends with, like, in this business outside of wrestling. Like, there's a lot of guys that I got along with and that we had good times at shows with. There was a very few that you stayed friends with, and I've had a couple of them. I mean, like, I have my buddy Tommy Taylor, and he was with FCW. Him and I are, to this day, still like best friends. And I just had gone down there and made a visit him, and stayed with him, and he actually got us on a small indie show to tag together. And we worked together in a tag match that went 30 minutes. It was it went to time limit. It was for the tag titles for that promotion. And because it went to time limit, we didn't get the belts. But the match was fun. there was like 35 people in the crowd, and they were a great crowd. And that was in Daytona, Florida.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so it was so fun. It was so fun to be able to work with him because I had worked with him once before in a tag match many years before that, but as friends outside of the wrestling business and like just being friends for a long, long time, to be able to go down and visit him for 9 days and be able to go and work a tag team match with him just on the fly like that was really awesome. And another one of my really good friends that I always like bounce stuff off of, and man, I wish he, was here to see it, was Shooter Storm. Was like, man, I would fire him messages any time of the night, and I would be like, what do you think about this? Do you think this would work? Do you think this would work? Or, and we stayed friends. And it was funny because he actually came up and stayed with me a few years ago. I don't know if any of you guys remember. He was an extra, and he was at Money in the Bank, and Braun Strowman threw him into a truck. So if you think back to the Money in the Bank where Braun Strowman was looking, I don't know who he was looking for, Rey Mysterio or Brock Lesnar or somebody.
I think
he picked
probably Brock.
I think it was Brock.
Yeah.
And he threw Shooter into a ring truck out back, and so he really was the one who kind of got me excited about doing the extra work, because I had at that point really never knew about it until I brought him. He stayed with me for 3 days. He did the road trip. He did the loop here, and I dropped him off in Hartford for the last one, and so it was kind of like a weird moment when I was in Hartford, because I had parked at the same restaurant parking lot. Instead of parking down in Hartford in the arena, like I parked in the parking lot at the restaurant we ate at, and then I walked through the same door he walked through, and he just passed away in February. So it was kind of like one of those, kind of like surreal moments where I was like, I'm parking here, I'm going through that same door. I'm like, come on, man, give me something tonight.
Yeah, right.
And lo and behold, I'm up there on Bobby Lashley's shoulders, getting tossed like a rag doll.
But you wouldn't have it any other way, though.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I just look, and there's very few guys that you really become like really close with and friends with, that you stay friends with even when that business part of it goes away and you don't do it for a while. You stay in contact. I think there's only a couple of guys that I really still talk to from that. I have another one of my friends, Ricky Romeo. He was great to work with. He tried his hand at stand-up comedy, so he moved on, even though his wrestling was comedy.
The next Dolph Ziggler.
What's that?
Is it the next Dolph Ziggler type of deal?
Yeah, he was. But I stay in a lot of contact with him too, and I just talked to him the other day. But it is a really small community when you really look at it from a different standpoint. When you run into these people like that you work with, and that's just like one of the other guys who does a ton of work, who is Chico Adams. He's doing a ton of work. It's so funny because I had never met Chico until he actually Shooter rode home with him from the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and I met them in Lee, Massachusetts, to pick up Shooter to come back to my house because Chico's originally from there. So he comes up and sees his family, and I love Chico. It's like I go to these shows and I try to beat him to the arena. Like I stay in the hotels like the night before, and he still drives 3-4 hours, and he gets there before I do. And I'm always like, man, I can never beat you. It doesn't matter how close I am. I could be 10 minutes away. I could be staying at the arena, and he's still there before I am somehow. But like he just, and it's great because he's done it so many times that like he just leads by good example of what to do backstage. Like just, and I thank him for everything that he has done those last 6 days, where it's like, just from talking and getting to, really like, this is what is really good to do. Like, get back in your suit. I get back in my suit, like go stand here and do this, know your boundaries. Don't go walking up to people and introducing yourself and talking to people when you shouldn't be talking to them. And, you're there to do a job, and it's, there's certain right moments. Like I just with the whole edge with lunch thing, like that was cool to me because like I was sitting alone with another extra, and he came up and sat with us, and he spoke to us, and we just struck up a nice 20-minute conversation, and it was just
Wow.
it was nice. But like your boundaries, like it's you don't go out of your way to like wander around looking to meet people. That's not why you're there. You know what I mean? You want to be noticed. You do it through your work and through how you present yourself and how you carry yourself backstage. And that's basically like how I do it. Is if I want to be noticed by anybody, I just do it by how I carry myself and how I present myself. And that's probably the biggest thing that I strive upon when I get there.
Now,
You
is it the
know,
same
is
people there every time? Like, you'll be seeing the same extras, or is it like
a
some new
lot of
ones,
times
some old ones?
A lot of times in the loops, you do. Um, it was great because when I did Boston, another one of my really good friends that I've been friends with forever from Florida, is Luscious Latasha. Her name's Toya, and she's awesome. She's hysterical, and like I got to see her in Hartford, you know,
Hmm.
and I haven't seen her since I did Boston when I did that like 4 years ago, the extra work in Boston. So it was like, you're always running into, but she again lived in Florida, but now she lives back in Massachusetts. So I was able to like work with her there and see her there. And, you know, um, a lot of the guys who did Uniondale with me were in Hartford, and a lot of the guys who did like the Buffalo, Albany, and Worcester were pretty much, it kind of like in this
In the
area
area,
within
yeah.
a within like I want to say like maybe a 5 hour drive, um 7 hours for some guys maybe. I mean, Buffalo took us a little while because I rode with I rode with two really good, they're good guys too, and they're new friends of mine. And Shane was one of them who does World of Hurt, and he was on it. And another one was other guy Mike, who's really cool, and was like, yeah, ride with me and Shane and stay in the hotel with me and Shane. And I was like, oh yeah, and we had a blast. We had a really good time. And the worst part was coming home that night. We decided to leave Buffalo after Raw instead of staying another night. We had stayed the
Oh,
night before,
yeah, I saw that picture you
and
posted.
we hit that snowstorm, man. It was snow and thunder and lightning, and it was not a fun ride home, man. It took us, I think, like 7 hours to get back to Albany.
Let me
And
see if I could pull that picture up. I think I still have it.
well, I know
Um,
you modified it a little bit with a.
I still have the original version
You
now.
still have the original. I know you did modify it a little bit.
Okay, for anybody that doesn't know, I gave him the 24/7 title.
Yeah, he put it on my shoulder and it's standing there in the snow at a rest stop.
But I mean, hey, you would like to have the 24/7 title, though.
I think that's another great segment that I would love to be a part of. Like I sometimes go in there in hope that they say to me like, you're gonna do something with the 24, you're gonna be running around the building all night trying to catch somebody for the 24/7 title. Like I said, I anything that they want me to do, I'm pretty much there to do, and I will do it.
That doesn't mean no. If you see like I don't know whoever had it, like say our truth had it, that doesn't mean you just go run up to him and be like, hey, I'm gonna pin you now.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I just think that would be a great if they said you're going to be a part of like the 24/7 title angle, with what's going on. I'd be like, absolutely, you know.
Right, right. So I did
Do
have.
it.
Oh wait, here it is. Hang on one sec. Um, but
And now,
so
when before you show it, when we left Buffalo, there was no snow.
no snow.
2.5 hours into the drive, when we hit Utica, and we stopped at this rest area, is where you'll see if you show it is the how much snow came in like 2 hours with us driving home by the time we hit Utica.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the good old internet to work the way it needs to. Um, but so I mean, explain to us how like a typical day is at the venue. Like you go in. Obviously, you don't know what you're doing until you're there.
Yep.
But so like a typical day at any venue when you roll in.
Okay. Well, I'll start with my typical day. Is like if I get up in the, I usually try to get there the night before. Like if I'm traveling because I want to make sure that I have no glitches on getting there for the time I need to be there. I usually want to book a hotel for the night before because I will stay.
Right.
And I'll get it, get it like 10 minutes away from the venue. And I'll wake up in the morning and I'll find like a gym or the hotel gym. I'll work out for like an hour, hour and a half, real quick workout, nothing like super, super major. I go down, I shower, shave, put my suit on, and then I leave for the venue. I get there for like about 12:45, 12:30. I go in, I go check in with talent relations and let them know that I'm there. Then I'll go find our extra. Well, technically, what I'll do is find Chico and I'll say, where's our locker room? And he'll tell me where we're going and he'll take me down. We'll go down to the locker room and go in there. We usually find out about what time we have to see the trainer because we have to see the trainer every time you go in. So I'll see the trainer for usually it's 2 o'clock.
Is that because you guys are not contracted by them or liability?
Part of it, yeah, part of it, yes, but sometimes I mean a lot of them are in there seeing trainers anyway. They're there for that reason. There's SmackDown and Raw trainers, but like yeah, we do blood pressure, heart rate, a basic physical pretty much when you get there. Just to make sure that you're cleared to compete for that night. If you're doing anything physical, like if you're going to have a match that night, and even if you're not going to have a match, obviously you get the physical because that's just part of the day. So that they know who's cleared and who hasn't cleared or whatever. Right. So then you see the trainer. Then usually before you see the trainer, I'll change out of my suit and put on like gym clothes. So I always like that's another thing. If there's anybody that's listening that ever is gonna do extra work or something, make sure you bring like extra clothes because there has been extras who forget like sneakers or shorts or you want something comfortable because like in case you're gonna do something, and you're going down there to take a physical, they're gonna be giving you like squat, do squats, do toe touches, do this, do that. If you're only in your suit, you're kind of beat.
Yeah.
So yeah, we change into that, and then we go and we'll go down to catering and get something to eat, and we'll hang out down there and talk. Usually, all of us extras always sit together. Usually, we always sit together. We stay, try to stay like together. And
that's always the joke, though. Like, this person's in catering. Oh, this like Rando's in, like, the catering's always the butt of the joke. But how actually is catering in the WWE? Like,
fantastic.
Yeah.
They started it like 1, 2 o'clock. It's already all set up, and you go in there and it's like, you walk in and they got vegan, they got vegetarian. They always have chicken. They have, like they'll do, say lunch is like, on a day where you walk in, it's like you get 2 different salads. Then the next is all deli meats where you could do a deli tray with cheeses and salami, pepperoni, anything in a deli. And then you have like rices. You have like maybe like potatoes. And then you'll have vegan, you'll have vegetarian, then you'll have chicken, then you'll have, steak, or you'll have some other meat, fish or whatever. And then they have the dessert table, and the dessert table's there with everything. And then they have a table that's got like peanut butter, jelly, bread, cereal, milk.
Huh.
They have coffee. They have everything, anything that you want to eat. And I try not to eat a lot. Like if I haven't known what I'm doing yet, like I stick to like I'll usually get like 4 pieces of like the chicken that they have. That they're for some reason their chicken, like their regular just chicken from the oven, is like so perfectly done every single arena that I went to. It was amazing. So I would eat like 4 of that, and then I would get like vegetables, and I try to stay like pretty light in case I was doing something, but I wanted to eat. And I might do like a small thing of rice, for some carbs. And then we just, you go out, we'll sit ringside. Usually not right around the ring. Like there's a lot of times we'll sit like right up off the floor so that they know where you are if they need you. And they come to you and they say like, we just sit there and talk, I'll bring out a coffee with me or water, and all of us extras will sit there and talk, and we'll, talk about like where we all are from or where we work for promotions for indies, and, and then you find out whether or not you're doing anything. And then by the time it's everybody starts rolling in and things like that, then it starts gets closer to when the doors are going to open, and you're like, okay, everybody goes back to the locker room. And if I'm not doing anything, I put my suit back on and I go find somewhere to watch the whole show. And if I am doing something, then I got to figure out what I'm doing or what segment or who I'm working with, and then I got to get ready for that. And if I'm going to be wrestling, then I got to put on gear. If I'm not going to be wrestling, I got to find out, what I'm going to be doing that night, if it's an EMT or if it's a security spot or whatever the case. And
that's something I do want to know about too, and I'm sure other people definitely want to know. As far as the EMT thing, because like you said, it wasn't really on TV, right?
No.
So as far as that goes, like, how did that work? Like, so you brought them to the actual EMT, like the actual ambulance, and they go in there. Like, I've always wondered.
Well, we didn't have we didn't have an ambulance. We actually did. No, so we did. We came out and took him out of the ring, put him on the gurney, wheeled him backstage, and then we did do a small segment that was on TV.
Okay.
Of us going to the ambulance. So it was I didn't make TV. I mean, if you watched it, you would know it's me because you would just see like the bald head. But like I was pushing from the back, bringing him to the ambulance, and the camera was just in front of us, and it just kind of followed us for like maybe 10 seconds just to get him back there. And that did go on TV, but like most people didn't even see like me. Like they were like, "That was you," and I was like, "Yeah."
But like so when that happens though, like obviously like you see it many times too, where like the ambulance takes off. Does it actually go to the hospital? Does it just like, all right, that's the end of the scene, all right, come back? Like,
oh, I have no idea about that. I don't even know about that because like I wasn't part of any of that part. So like basically it's kind of one of those things like, I guess if they're going to the hospital, like, and they're going to follow, and the camera is going to go, and I really can't answer that because I don't know how it really works. Like, that would be something that if I was involved with it, I guess I could answer it, but I guess
that's something I always wondered.
I'm only involved to a certain point, and then I'm told, I'm all done, and then they take it from there. Like, we met with we had, like, the real EMTs, like, were there.
I wonder what they were thinking, oh, these guys again.
Well, no, I mean, I don't really know how that whole thing works, but for what it is, but we're just, like I said, we're told to do what we do till when we're supposed to do it, and then when we're told to stop, that's the end of us.
Yeah, but that does always make me wonder too. Like you said about the real EMTs and stuff. Like you see the real security guys like in like holding the fans back and stuff like that at the arena. Like I always wonder like what they think of like when they see like security guards being tossed around, like you know what I mean? Like oh hey, should I be worried here? Or
well, I mean, and that's the thing is like I mean, I worked security when I was in college, right? When I was at Westfield State, I worked security at the Springfield Civic Center. So I actually worked security for WWE events at the Springfield Civic Center.
Yeah.
As Springfield Civic Center staff. So I mean, like, you obviously know, I mean, people know that if you're security around the ring or there, that you're a trained professional. I mean, that's no secret. Like, that's something that, like, I mean, you watch it, obviously, when you see people in the business that are, smart to it, and that, like, you guys that do the podcast or fans who are really into it, like, they know because they've seen extras and who is now not an extra anymore and who may be, wrestling somewhere or things like that. So, I mean, that's not any secret to it, but like as a security guard when I was at Springfield Civic Center, I don't know if I really ever picked up on that. I don't know if I really ever thought about that because I mean, we were always like, I mean, I always knew, I don't know if you ever remember, but there were people that back in like that are older that would probably remember, but WWE did have their own ringside security too, that were like real big guys that were like ringside security. So like when I was a security guard, like, and I was up in the stands as a security guard at the Springfield Civic Center, like, to me, they had their own security. that they brought to do the ring. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's something that, like, I mean, there's probably guys that sit there and go, oh, I wish that was me, or, I would have done that. Oh, I would have stopped them. But,
Or vice versa,
that
like, oh, I'm glad I'm not right there.
or I'm glad that wasn't me, or,
So what
but
would
yeah,
have
there's a lot.
happened when you were, if like, being the real security guard at the Civic Center, if somebody like Bobby Lashley, the size of him, came charging at you?
I don't know. I probably would have moved out of the way. I probably would have been like, I don't need any part of this. I don't get paid enough to do this.
It should be like, nope.
You know?
Just walk that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I would have just been like, whoa, I'm moving, and let him do whatever he was about to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, like, a day, and then back to the day, like, is TV time starts, and I'm in my suit and I'm just watching it. I just, finish watching the show. I stay there and watch the monitor, and, as time gets closer to the end of the show, you see everybody, packing up and leaving the building, and it's getting time. But I usually make sure that I leave after everything is done, and I make sure that I'm, I don't leave early. I don't try to get out of there early. I've been trying to get into this business to that level for my entire life. And if I'm there, I'm going to stay there until the very end, because if I'm asked to do something, and it may not even be something that has to do with, like, wrestling, but if someone asks me to do something, like, hey, can you give me a hand with this? That's like a producer or something like that needs help with something, like, and I'm standing there and they ask me for my help, I'm there to help them, and that might just be something just simple, like, can you go find this person? Can you help me find this person? Or can you do this? And I can, yes, absolutely. And I'll go do the best I can to try to find, whoever they ask me to find.
Yeah, the reputation. It's all about that.
And that's what it's all about. Like, I'm there to do a job, whatever it is. And if it's, whether it's in the ring, if it's in a segment, or if it's just helping out somebody that needs a hand trying to find somebody, or has to get a message to somebody, or, whatever. Like, that's the reputation that I want, is like, he's always there. We can always find him. We always know where he's standing. He's always willing to help and willing to do something. So, keep bringing him back. And that's what I want, to keep getting brought back, so.
Yeah, to me, just to be saying that you're backstage is pretty cool on its own,
Right. And the reputation, like you said, it goes a long way, knowing when to, when to talk to people, or when to just kind of step back and say, like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this right here, because I don't want that reputation of, being annoying, or being, like, always in the way, or, something like that. Like, I step back and I do my own thing, and I stay out of everybody's way. I stay in sight. So again, like I said, so I'm there. But if you talk to me or you speak to me, then I'm going to talk to you, but I'm not going to, like, try to go up and make small talk with anybody or do anything like that, because it's hectic. It's crazy back there, and people are busy, and people are running around every which way. And, the last thing they need is somebody back there being like, hey, how you doing? I'm Justin. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm there for. And I'll go sit back in the locker room sometimes just to get away from everything too for a minute. I'll go get a cup of coffee, and I'll go sit back in the locker room in my chair, and I'll just sit there and be like, look at my phone and be like, okay, text my girlfriend, see how she's doing or whatever. But, sometimes you got to take a minute to yourself and step back, and then be like, all right, go back out to all that craziness that's going on. Yeah. But I wouldn't trade it for, the world.
Because I'm sure you see, like, the wrestlers passing by, and like you said, you just don't go up and be like, oh, hey, Alexa, my name's Justin. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't do that. I mean, it's not like I mean, I know it's kind of hard, because, like, when you're in, like, the indies, you're taught to, like, go up and shake the hand of everybody and introduce yourself and do all that. But there's a different level that you're at when you're there, that, like, you do have a lot of them that will come up and introduce themselves. And that's absolutely the coolest thing, is, like, when you're standing there, outside of the trainer or something like that, and they walk by and they say, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm so and so," and "Oh, how you doing? I'm Justin. Nice to meet you," and that's that. But you know, if they come up to me, that's absolutely fine. But like, I don't, you know, lurk around the backstage looking for everybody trying
Because that's not what you're there to do. Yeah.
Right. I'm not there to do that. You know, it's again, it goes back to your boundaries and your professionalism and how you want to be viewed, because you want to keep getting brought back. You know, you want them to say like, man, okay, he does what he's asked. He does a good job when he's asked to do it. He does whatever he's asked. He doesn't, you know, step on anybody's toes. He doesn't do this. He doesn't. Yeah, he's more than welcome to come back. And that's what you really ultimately want, because at the end of the day, as many times as you can be there is the easiest way to get your foot in the door and noticed, and whether it be on any level of what they might come at you to say, and you know, would you want to do this, or have you ever talked on a microphone, or have you ever conducted an interview, or can you do this, or can you do that? You got to be ready to just say, yeah, we can do that. I can do that. Let's do it. And you never know where it'll lead. Like I said, that's the coolest part. It's like, it's almost like you're always interviewing for a job is what you got to really think about it as, is because you really kind of are in that situation of where you're always kind of interviewing.
Now, if you had to choose to pick, because I know you said off camera and stuff, like when you were there and they came up to you about doing the security thing, you thought possibly that was your shot with Veer.
Yeah.
Who would you want to face between the two, either Veer or Gunther? I know your answer's probably gonna be both, but if you had to choose one, who would you pick? Preferably.
I don't know. I went back and forth on that a lot. Actually, it's funny that you asked that, because I did think about that a lot. Man, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a really tough decision, because again, you're right. I would say either one, really.
I know which one I would choose.
Who would you choose?
I would choose Veer, 100%.
Would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't want any part of Gunther's chops. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know he's been doing it for a long time, so I mean, I really believe he really is a ring general, in my opinion. Like, I really know that I would definitely feel good having a match, I think, with either one of them.
Yeah.
I know Veer's kind of new to it, but I think he has a lot of potential too. Is a standout. His stuff looks really good, and so does Gunther. But I really think that his stuff is really credible too. It's really hard to say. Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say who you would like to have a match with. You know, I mean, because there's certain guys that, like, I would pick if I could have like a dream match, or you know, there's guys that I'd love to work with that would be, you know, just probably unbelievable, and that I think that I would be able to. They would probably bring like the best out in me. Whether or not the best of me would be good enough to hang with them, I would hope so. But those are some tough questions. I mean, like, I really like the way that the Miz works.
Yeah.
I think his stuff is like incredible, like from where he started to where he's at now.
So if you did have to choose a dream opponent, who would you pick?
I would probably think that I would like to work with like the Miz, because he works like so. He's just so like, he's never hurt. His stuff is great. Like, and it was one of those things like where he came from, like from his start to where he's at now is just amazing to see where he progressed to, you know, over all those years of being there, and so consistent and never missing anything for injury really, or for, you know, any reason. Like, he just really stands out to me as like really a guy that, you know, is overlooked a lot as like a really, really huge superstar with them. I mean, I know he's not overlooked as a huge superstar because he is. He's got TV shows and movies and things like that. But I mean, as a wrestler standpoint, like I think he's a great, when it comes to that. And I love watching his matches. I love watching his promos.
Yeah, would
Um,
you be able to hang with him, do you think, with his promos?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like I would like to think I could, because, but he's been doing it day in day out for so many years. And when you're doing indies and you're really only kind of doing it on the weekends, and they're far and few between from when your first date is, from one date to another, and you got regular life you're dealing with. It's hard to kind of say like these guys that do it night after night after night. It's they can really go, and to be able to hang with them, you got to be like pretty confident. I mean, I would like to think I could, but it would be. I think it'd be a good challenge for me. And like I said, I'm always up for challenges. Like I'd love to, anybody that I could work with, really, I mean, it would be a dream match for one, just for the fact that I'd love to have a match would just be anybody would be a dream match.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys. I don't think like there's, I don't think there's anybody that I really wouldn't want to work with, that I don't think, yeah.
That's always good. Like that's leaving it open too. You would work with anybody and everybody. So
Yeah, and like I said, I would just hope that I would be successful in the time that I had. And again, it's hard. I try to get to train, when I can. Like I've been going, when I'm able to, on Wednesdays, I go and train in Glens Falls, and that I get in the ring, I feel good. I do drills. I try to do, blow up drills so that I can keep my cardio and my wind up. Because I mean, there ain't no cardio like there is wrestling.
yeah.
I'll tell you that. You can't prepare for that. I mean, you really can't. Like it's tough. It really is tough. I mean, like I said, I do my 30 minutes in the morning, and I usually do 20 or 30 minutes tacked on after my weight training in the evening. And I mean, I don't smoke, so like to me, my lung capacity is good. They always say my lungs are good when I see the trainer, but just cardio in general, like it's a tough thing to hang with. Like when you're doing 15-20 minutes, that's why MMA would be tough. With that question earlier with MMA, you got to have great cardio to do that too, because also while you're doing that, you're getting punched in the face by and trying to not get knocked out.
So imagine being in the Royal Rumble, entering number 1 and lasting to the end.
That's got to be absolutely insane. I mean, I know that you're not always in the mix of, like, I know a lot of times you get a breather a little bit, but still to be able to hang for 60 minutes or
Iron Man matches,
something
yeah.
like Iron Man matches would be, well, that's even worse, because that's just one-on-one. So that's 60 minutes one-on-one. And you're really talking about some real good cardio conditioning when it comes to that.
Well, what's the craziest match you've been in?
I've never done like a match with never done like a hardcore match. I've never done, again, like I try to stay pretty safe, like with the way that I, take care of my body. I don't do anything crazy. I don't go through tables, and not that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I've just never been asked. I've never been asked to do like a hardcore match or go through tables or
Inferno.
Inferno, man. That was actually the one I was just about to say. Thumbtacks or anything like that. I mean, I've been hit with chairs. That's about the extent of probably the hardest I've ever had to do anything like hardcore wise. Like, but
metal, or is it the plastic ones that you sometimes see?
No, metal.
The metal
steel chair.
Steel,
yeah, steel chair.
Because I know,
but I mean,
I remember seeing in the promotion up here, they were technically using. I guess they had a metal frame, but it was like the plastic folding chairs. You know what I mean? Like the cheapo folding chairs. And I'm like, that probably didn't hurt that much.
Well, plastic stings.
Yeah, but compared to the steel chair, how, I mean, to somebody that's like, it doesn't hurt, it's a fake weapon, and
no, you feel it. You
Yeah.
feel everything. That's the thing. You feel everything. Like your body feels everything. You may not feel it at the time because your adrenaline's going. I mean, that's another thing. Like when you're out there in front of a live crowd, like and you're doing stuff, like you can get through some pretty good stuff without feeling it. Like your body doesn't feel it, but the next day you feel it. Especially like I said, maybe not so much if you're working every single night and you're doing it for 10 years, 15 years, and you're used to that. But like when your dates are far and few between, or even if you're a week in between or 2 weeks in between your dates, and your body's, taking that punishment, like you can feel it. It's never anything, like I said, I've never been hurt. I've never been able to not do a match. I've never not been able to like, perform, due to injury or anything like that. But, you know, just your basic bumps and bruises and cuts and scrapes and, everything that goes along with it. I've been caught with some pretty hard shots too. Actually, one of the hardest shots I had was I got a European uppercut from when I had a match with Tommy Taylor, and he gave me a European uppercut, and I kind of like clamped my teeth together and chipped one of my tooth in over here, and I mean, so, but I've never been like really too bad with like injury prone. I've never torn anything or broken anything. Knock on wood. I
Yeah,
say
right.
that now, and I don't want to say that because again, like I said, you never know what could happen on the smallest thing. It could happen just walking, running, doing something. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say is the next, or well, before that, um, how would you feel if they were like, all right, yeah, we're gonna give you a shot. Um, the only thing is they ain't not gonna call you Rando. They're gonna call you something completely different. How would you feel about that?
Oh, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a big issue. I would never have any issue with them changing my name or my look or telling me like I had to do this or wear that or you know like I said, it's all I would welcome anything, and like again, if it was comedy or if it was badass or if it was you know anything would be, to me, would just be like, yep, you tell me what you want me to do and I'll work on it, and get to that level of where you guys are happy with it. It doesn't matter if I'm happy with it. I mean, I think you have to be happy with it in a way because you are doing it, so you have to enjoy it, and that shows. You know,
Yeah, just look at the Rosebuds back in the day. I mean, there were so many of those that were extras, and then
yeah,
of course, Braun Strowman, and look now,
yeah, yep, yeah. You just again, you have to be ready for you have to enjoy it, and I think it. With that being said, like with me being there, if they come to me and tell me I have to do this or do that, and you got to wear this or that, um, you just take it for what it is at that time, and you say like, all right, I'm gonna do this and show them, that I can do this. And once you show them that you can do that, you never know if it's gonna change, and they may change the direction a little further down the road, and you might get to a point to where you have this thing that just clicks and that works for you, and it's perfect. So I kind of just I invite anything. Like I would just be thrilled for them to say that they wanted me at that point, to do anything. Especially with as many years as I've been doing it, and finally getting to that level of like being able to say that I'm there, and that you're part of that little elite crew of people who get to do it. I mean, I don't really know what the numbers are for how many extras they use, so I couldn't say like how many guys get the opportunity to do it or how many get called back or how many do the most or
yeah.
whatever. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I got to do 6 like right in a row like that. That was a thrill for me.
And you
So
continue
close
to
to,
be getting called back, it seems, yeah.
yeah, and to be that close together was like the best part about it for me, because it wasn't like you do one and then you don't get seen for 6 months and people forget you, and then you do another one and then you don't do another one for 3 months and then you only do one. It was like, I was right there for a good 6 and was able to really, you know, get a good feeling of being there and get, not comfortable, I want to say, but like, I guess you could say I was comfortable with being there, as comfortable as you could be knowing that, you're there for the sole purpose of just being there in case they need you.
Yeah. Now,
I guess I could have been
do you have a favorite move to take?
favorite move to take.
Yeah, like you've taken it so many times and it's just so easy to do. You just don't mind doing it over and over and over.
Not really. There's not really anything that I would say is like my favorite. Um, I don't think there's something that I took so many times. I mean, other than like stuff like body slams
Yeah.
and shoulder tackles and things like that. Um, I don't think there's too many things that there's not one that sticks out in my mind that's like, wow, that's you know, I love taking that. I think I love taking something that I've never taken that looks really hard but comes out really nice. I mean, I can remember one move that I took. It was it was called the Big Dump, and it was Bruce Santee, his finishing move. And he's huge, the big dude. I love Bruce. And he gave it to me, man, and I just went up and down like it just worked. It was smooth. It was like a swing. I want to say, if I remember, it was like a swinging like sidewalk slam type deal.
Huh.
And I swung and came right around and like just it was perfect. And that was the only time I ever took it, but I loved it. And yeah, it was really cool. It was like one of the best. It felt perfect and it looked good. And yeah, that would probably be like one move that I remember, and that was years ago. I mean, that was for ASW in Florida, probably 2009, 2008, something like that.
And the package pile driver looks impressive. I mean, looks like it hurts.
What's that?
The package pile driver, Kevin Owens used to do.
Oh yeah. No, I've never taken that.
Especially like, well, have you taken anything on the apron before?
Nothing too hard. I mean, like
Yeah.
I've been, like clotheslines or something like that on the outside of an apron. But I've never like taken anything. I've been suplexed in from outside.
Yeah.
But never been suplexed outside from, or inside from out to outside rather.
So what would you say your indie like style is? Like high flyer, ground and pound, like
No, absolutely not high flyer.
Rey
Like I said, I
Mysterio?
don't think I can. No, I don't think I ever really come off the top rope. But like I said, maybe once I came off.
I could see you doing
I'd
a
say it's
swanton.
more.
Come on now.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I could try it. I probably could do it, and if I did it, I probably would feel. I think that's one thing that I do need to do is like if I need to start getting out of my comfort zone of things that I do.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact that like, if I am at practice, like I need to start kind of easing my way into doing things that are a little bit more like not like me.
Yeah.
And no, I mean I'd say my style is just more like your old school like basic, just grappler wrestler, technical. I do a lot. I do some like really good things that like I like to hit is like I can do the fisherman suplex with the bridge,
Yep.
like where I don't even land on my back. Like when I hit the fisherman suplex, like I go right over and land with my toe, on my tippy toes bridged. And that usually looks good. Like I do like to do a Japanese arm drag. My drop kick's not bad. Like I can get pretty good height on my drop kick for somebody who's shorter.
Well, what's
guys.
your finisher?
I don't really. I'd say I use more or less the DDT. Like I've used it from like a tornado DDT from like the second rope.
Yep.
When I was working with Owen Brody here, I beat him with a DDT. Finisher's kind of like, I feel like unless you've won with that move like 1,000 times, it's really not a finisher. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, when you see like the Rock Bottom, he's won with that move 1,000 times, so
GTS,
that's his
yeah.
finisher. With me, it's like I haven't won with any one move more than 100 times, so I wouldn't even say that I have actually a finisher. That again is my take on like going back to like psychology. You know, like everybody wants to have a finishing move, and it's like, well, I mean, I use that as a finish. Like I will, you know, if I hit a DDT, that's a finish. A finishing move to me is more along the lines like when you say you go into a move. If I've tried to hit you with a DDT like 3 times, but I haven't, and then I finally hit you with it, that's my finisher for that match. But as opposed to like being like a specific finishing move, then I would probably say I don't have one.
No.
No. Those are just moves I like to use. I like to use the fisherman suplex. I like to use the DDT. But yeah, those are probably the two that I would go to and try to win with mostly.
And now being like in the ring, like you've had countless matches, like how is it like building a match? Because there's a lot of people I'm sure that think, oh, they talk through the match first, then they rehearse it, and then they do it. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's
No, that's the biggest misconception. Is like
exactly,
people
yeah.
always say that to me, like, oh, how many times did you rehearse that, or how many times did you do that? And I'm like, you didn't.
You call it on
You
the
know?
fly, right?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, it's you kind of just have an idea of going in of how you want it to be,
Yeah.
and you know, it depends on like if you've worked with the person a lot, then you can kind of just know and feel for it and know what you're doing. But if you haven't, you kind of get an idea. Like, I mean, I told you, like, even with independence, man, I love to get to the arena early, you know, like, or I shouldn't say arena, I should say the venue, because but I get there, like, I help set up the ring still, you know, like, I still have fun helping set up the ring, setting up the chairs, like, and it sounds weird because people are like, oh, that's the worst part. No, I think all of it. I love the whole day. Like, as soon as I get to where I'm wrestling, my mind clicks right into wrestling mode. Like, if I'm at home the night before a match or the night before a show or the day of a show, my mind's racing. I'm thinking of things and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. But it's weird when I get there and I get to where I'm at for the day and I know I'm wrestling that night, then my mind just clicks like right into like wrestling mode, man. And so I get there. I can't wait to get there. I get excited. So I'll go to the venue. What time's the ring truck showing up? I'll be there, and I'll get there and I'll help bring the stuff in. I'll help set up the ring. I'll help set up the chairs.
Last to leave. Yep.
Yeah. Again, the last to leave. Yeah. I mean, even with that, like, I'll help stay and take down the ring. I'll help load the ring truck. I'll do all that kind of stuff just because it's like to me it's fun. I know it sounds weird because people are like, oh, that's work, that's hard work. Like, I don't know, any part of the wrestling business is what I love to do. So to me, that's not really that much of work. It's kind of just like, I'm getting prepared, and as I'm doing all that, my mind is thinking about what I'm going to be doing that night. So it gets me into that mentality of like, I'm here to wrestle tonight, and who am I going to wrestle? I don't know. Maybe I don't know yet. Maybe I've never met them, or they don't even know who I'm going to work with yet, or maybe it's changed last minute. But like, I'm still having in my mind a match with somebody, and I'm running through different scenarios, and I'm running through different things, and I'm having different ideas. And then once that time comes, it's like, okay, now this is what I'm thinking. And then it's usually like, it goes, okay, well, let's fix that. Like, let's go from that to this, or let's do this. And you tweak little things, and then you kind of got to get out there and you kind of got to feel like also what the energy of the crowd like.
Yeah.
You know, are they buying into this, or is this shit in the bed right now? Like, what do we need to fix? You know, we got to go somewhere different because this ain't working. Nobody cares. You know, and that's when you kind of like are working with that person that you're with that night, and you're like, all right, we start thinking about something different, and you can kind of just know the change of the momentum in that match. And I had that, you know, we did that with when I had that match in Pittsfield with World of Hurt. Like, man, we started feeling that crowd started getting behind me, and we knew it was the right time for what we were about to do, and it worked. And we went right from that to that to that, and it's like you want to bring that person up from, like, you know, because if you bring them up too early in a match, like if you get them too excited too early, there's nowhere to go from there.
Right.
You have to build it. You have to build it to, like, if you come out and you start doing swanton bombs and you know, all this crazy stuff right off the rip, and then you go to like something else, like the crowd's sitting in their chair like, okay, yeah. So you have to build that energy up from them, and you have to be like, okay, so where can we go from here? So if we're at point A in the beginning, and you're slowly getting people like, and then they start slowly coming up, and they start getting more and more excited and more excited. And then you just hit to that, because once you get them to the most excited that they're going to be, that's time to end it.
Yeah, that'd be
Because
like
if you
Undertaker
already,
coming in and doing tombstones right out the gate.
right, but I mean, if you're going for this and this, and you get to a certain point where you're like, well, we got to do this still, and we got to do this still. Well, I didn't do this yet. Well, it doesn't really matter if you did that.
Right.
It matters where they're at in the crowd. Because if they're at their peak and you're like, well, no, we're not ready to do that yet. You have to know when you're at that peak. When they're at that peak, that's when it's time to end it, because they're not going to get any higher than they're at that point.
Yeah,
So
then it's just you
doing
cool spots just for you, yeah.
Right. Because then if you bring them back down again, they're not going to get to where they were. And then you lose them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, you're like, we lost them. So you had this great thing going, but you wanted to do three more things.
Yeah, then a table spot, then a chair spot, and then
and then you lost them at that, and you lost them, and now you're ending it on a lower note than you could have, because you could have ended it here when they were already at the peak that they were going to be at. Now they're slowly coming down in those 2 minutes, and now you end it, and now they don't really care. And you're like, well, I thought it was great. It was, if you ended it here.
Right. Now what is
dragging it?
What is next for Rando? Because I know you got Monday tomorrow, don't you?
What's that?
I know you got Raw tomorrow, possibly, don't you?
No, I'm not at Raw tomorrow.
Not Raw tomorrow?
No, I'm not there tomorrow. Now it'll be like, I think a few weeks before, because I had such a good spot on Monday, like it'll be a few weeks before that's got to come down.
Could they call you and be like, hey, we could use you?
It'll be an email. If anything, I'll get an email.
Yeah.
You know, I always do too, is like I always email, or even on Facebook I put up a thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
You saw it. I'm sure you saw it.
Oh yeah.
If you go to my Facebook, I never say, like, I just do a basic thank you WWE, thank you, you know, Hartford, Uniondale, and Providence. That was so great. I appreciate the opportunities, and that's basically it. Just a simple thank you, you know, because, you know, gratitude goes a long way. Like, you know, or even an email. Like, I was always taught, when you go for an interview for a job and you get the interview, and I go in and sit down with you and interview, that when I come home the next day, I write a thank you email to whoever I interviewed with, saying thank you for the opportunity yesterday. Hope to hear from you in the near future. And I leave it at that,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, he showed his appreciation for like being part of what he was part of with Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-view. And then it's the same with going to a job interview in a regular job. Like they look and they say like, well, we got 3 people coming in to interview for this job. They all interviewed the same. And this one sent an email thanking us for the opportunity to interview, but these 2 didn't. So a lot of times you don't know. Employers will think, hey, go with the guy who showed his appreciation for giving him the opportunity to come in here for he wanted it. He wants it. And I just leave it open-ended like that. Like, hope to hear from you soon. And, hopefully, like I said, that with WWE, like, do I check my email every day? Yes, I do. I'm always checking it and going like, oh, hoping for an email today. But I also know realistically, like, I'm not top priority to get like an email, like, but I make sure that I leave it open like that. And hopefully that, when times get closer, and I know that times have passed through from what I've done where I've been on TV or I've been on the website and I have pictures up, like, as time goes away and like I can be brought back for something different, then the door opens again. And that's exciting. It just sucks having to wait because you want to be doing it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
You really do. I know I do. I want to be there every day, whether it's doing anything or nothing. I'm excited to go to work. And that's the best part about it, is when you're excited to go to work and you don't even know what you're going to do yet. That's a cool feeling, to wake up in the morning and be like, you can't wait to go to bed, to wake up in the morning, to go to the gym, to get back, to get showered, to get dressed, to get in your car, to get to the arena, and be excited the whole time you're there, and then go home or go back to the hotel and not wait. And you're saying to yourself, I can't wait to get back there again in 2 days. Like, I know when I left SmackDown on Friday in Uniondale, I got back to the hotel and I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning and I was like, got to pack my car. I can't wait to get on the road. 3-hour, 45-minute drive from Uniondale to Providence, check into the hotel. When I get to the hotel, I can't wait to just relax and go to bed, because I can't wait to get up Sunday and get to the pay-per-view, even though I know I'm not going to have a match at the pay-per-view. That's a guarantee. But I don't care. I just want to be there. I just want to be at work. I just want to see what's going on. I just want to learn more. And that's basically what I do.
Yeah, and that's that's great attitude to have for that.
Right.
But so you have a couple shows coming up, don't you? Like with WOH, right?
Yeah. Like I said, he's hoping to do one in Bennington or Rutland by end of July, mid-July. I think mid-July he was talking. And I think he's already spoke to like Rutland. He said the crowds there are great. Rutland from Pittsfield, like if there's anybody watching that's from Pittsfield and listening, it's from Pittsfield. It's like you go up through Williamstown and boom, you're right in Vermont. And then he wants to come back to Pittsfield. He wants to be back here at some point. He thought he did a great job coming to Pittsfield. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of wrestling fans in Pittsfield.
Yeah, there is.
There is a lot. So for me, it's like, for no travel, for no having to do anything, like hotels. I mean, that's fun to me. Like, I do enjoy the travel. I enjoy, like I said, the whole aspect of this business. Like, there's not one thing I don't like about it. And it's like the travel can be, yes, it can be tiring. And if you're traveling by yourself, it can be tiring and lonely, going back to your hotel. Like, I mean, especially when you get to a hotel the night before and it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and you're in your room and you're like by yourself. You're like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go out to eat alone. I'm not going to go out to dinner alone. You're like, I mean, I might go to the gym, but I'm probably going to wait till the next morning because there's, I've already traveled all day. So you kind of just lay in bed and watch TV. I watch cartoons. I watch cartoons all night, and sit there coloring on my cell phone basically and texting people and talking to people and go to bed. And that to me is like, then I can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning before everybody else is up. Then I can go to the gym. Then I can go get breakfast. Then I can come back to the hotel. Then I can get ready for, going to TV and whatnot. But like being able to do a show in your hometown is really nice because the excitement when people know that you're going to do it and you're out and you're at Stop and Shop or you're at Price Chopper and you're getting groceries and people are getting excited because they know you're having a show in a week, and then you're at the gym and people are saying to you that you're going to be there. You're like, this is awesome. So, I can't wait for him to come back. Yeah, and I can't wait for him to come back here. It's not even like hometown hero. Like, I just, it's just nice that like I can look at like so many coming home, especially from living in Tampa for so long, and coming back here and still knowing so many people that I grew up with and that I hung out with and stuff like that, and that I went to school with and that I worked with, to be able to come and like when they see, they watch it and they go, oh my God, man, that's crazy that you do that. Like, I can't believe you still do that, or that you even did it, but my biggest thing was like, I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. I love to prove everybody wrong, you know? Everybody said to me, you don't think everybody said to me like, oh, well, you'll never be with WWE on TV or anything like that. Well, I already proved that wrong.
Yeah, years later, yeah.
Granted, I'm not contract, and that's absolutely fine. Some guys never get a, well, I hope so. That would be fantastic.
You're missing that one picture of holding that right there, my friend. Like.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, if I do, then that's absolutely great, man. I'll do it as long as I possibly can. And if I was lucky enough to get it and it's a short-lived run and it's a short-lived thing, still, I'll never be like bitter or upset or whatever. Like, people get released and, it's only been a year, it's only been 6 months, and they get released and they hate wrestling and they hate the company and they hate this and they hate that. Like, I could never, I would just go, hey, I had the best 6 months that I could have possibly had, or the best year, or the best 6 days that I just had. Because all in all, it's like, I think I said this to you last night, I look at it as like baseball players, you make it to AAA and you get called up to play in the majors for one day and you have one game in the majors, you still made it. Like, not many people fulfill their dream or fulfill their goal of being, I always said, I will be on Monday Night Raw. I never said I would wrestle on Monday Night Raw. I always said I would be on Monday Night Raw, and I already, succeeded at doing that. And, like, would I love the next step to wrestle? Yup. Would I love the next step to do whatever? Yup. But you can't walk through life hating the fact that somebody else got it over you, or they didn't pick you, or this or that. You just have to look and go, like, be grateful for all the opportunity that you got to do. Like you said, most people would never walk backstage.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't roll into the arena with their gear bag and a suit and go into the locker room and be like, I'm here. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do, so I'm here. And even if it's only for a day or 3 days or 6 days, or like I said, you still did it, and you still got the opportunity, and you still got to see what it was like, and know whether or not, like, that you could, and that's a hard thing to look at too, is like the scheduling. Like, the scheduling isn't as bad as it used to be back in like the days when they were on the road like 350 days a year.
Far, yeah.
It's a little bit better now. I mean, like, it's usually like, I think now, I mean, don't quote me, I don't know, but I think it's like usually like Friday SmackDown, Saturday's usually a house show, Sunday maybe a house show, Saturday or Sunday if there's no pay-per-view, Monday's Raw, and then you're kind of free.
Because you don't do house show stuff, right?
No, extras. We don't get called for house show stuff.
You would think that'd be when you can, because you could. House shows are when people, Nah, I can't remember.
I honestly think that it's funny because we got into this conversation at the table the other day while we were eating, And you would say like that would be an opportune time that like if you're in that 3-day loop to where you're doing SmackDown, pay-per-view, and Raw, or even if it's just SmackDown and then Raw, like if you were thrown into the house show since you were in that area already, like that would be your maybe your opportunity to be like, hey, let's see what this person can do.
Yeah.
You know, like let's see what they look like in the ring, and let's see what they can do and how they perform. You know, like that would be an ideal situation, and you know, but then again, those decisions obviously aren't up to me. So I mean, but it would just be kind of cool, like if you knew you had that opportunity, like okay, so I'm going to be at Raw and I'm going to be at SmackDown, and then I'm going to be at the one house show in between where they only have like 8,000 people in the arena because it's a small arena, you know, and they say like, okay, so guys who are on this loop, there's 5 of you. You guys are all going to have something little tonight in a match just so that we can see how you are on camera or how you are in front of a live crowd and what we have to work with. That would be really cool to me. But at the same time, it's money wasted if there's really no need for you to be there. I can see where they're kind of like, it's kind of a, you know, 6 a dozen, one half of the other,
Yeah.
you know,
right.
because
Yeah.
and then they're spending money to bring you to a house show and nobody's going to care who you are. People who are going to a house show are expecting to be at like, I know when I was a kid and I went to house shows, it was always like they had like the big matches at house shows that they would have that were, you know, they weren't on TV, but they would have like, I think I went to an Ultimate Warrior and Undertaker.
Yeah.
And that was the main event. And like that hadn't even happened on TV yet. So
Cena and Reigns recently.
yeah, like exactly. So I mean, there's a whole different perspective on how they view like the house shows too today, because they have to put, you know, if you're selling to a house show to a small place, like you want to give them the best show possible too. So people are going and they go, I don't want to see 3 matches with 6 guys who I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they want to see like they want to see a WrestleMania card. So it's kind of like, you know, we're going to give them what they have. You know, what we have is going to be 6 matches with 6 huge superstars, 6 matches that are, you know, I mean, usually you look at house shows now and it's, you know, it's always like big time main events that you don't see on TV. So,
Yeah.
you know, but it's, you know, it's always, you never know. Things change from day to day. So you never know when you could get a call to say like, yeah, we're going to add you to this house show for, you know, because we want to see what you can do on the house show.
Or we'll add you to,
I,
the pay-per-view. You're going to be on the pre-show now, yeah. We'll be like,
I think a lot of it has to do with, like, they look at it and they say, like, okay, so if we're going to do, maybe if they're really actually looking at you, they would maybe say, like, let's try that to see what you look like.
Well, even if you did something like you did with Mad Cat, like, backstage, I mean, even anything like that, especially, like, at a pay-per-view, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, pay-per-view wise, that's pretty much like the only thing that you really have. Like, I mean, you already know what's set for the pay-per-view for matches. Like, you know that it's not going to be like, you're not going to see Veer on there with one of us or Gunther with one of us on there. That just wouldn't happen. So you already have your, you know, people aren't paying to see that. That's the big payoff, is the pay-per-view of everything that's been building up that you've been watching on TV. You know, and that's why it's the pay-per-view, and that's why it is what it is. It's the big one, you know. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, with doing back to the indies now, for me, I'm looking forward to that now. So, like, I know that there'll be other opportunities coming up to do extra work with WWE, and I'll be so happy when that happens, and if it happens. But at the same time, now my look ahead is like, okay, now I want to get some more good matches under my belt. You know,
right, yeah.
like, I mean, you know, I had my fun being able to go do those 6 days and live that life for those 6 days. But let's bring it back to basics. And what can I work on to make myself more marketable? What can I work on to make myself more noticeable? Is it something that, like, you know, I wrestle pretty basic gear-wise, too. I sent you the picture of my gear and stuff like that. Like, I'm old school. I wear boots, I wear knee pads, I wear trunks.
You did, and here's actually the picture of it right here. I have it up on the screen. You won't be able to see it, but the people
Oh, okay.
watch it. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, my gear is very basic. Like I wear black and red trunks. I wear black boots. I did have black and red boots. Um, I have black knee pads. I have white trunks. I have um, black and blue trunks, like the red ones you see there. Um, just very basic, man. I try to stay as like simple as possible. I look at a lot of the indie shows I work. A lot of the gear is like homemade, and if it fits your character, that's perfect,
Yeah. Now the
But
shirt
a
that's
lot of
on
it,
the screen here, that you have them for sale, don't you?
I do have those for sale.
All right.
Um,
How can
those
people get them?
you can just email me. I believe you have my email up there.
I don't have the email up just yet, but I definitely will after we get through it here. I'll put it in the
Yeah,
description. But
it's just JRANDO 1980 at gmail.com. Um, like if you're listening and you want one of those shirts,
yeah, I'll put it back
uh,
up again.
um, it's a really basic, like that shirt really kind of boiled down to my return in Pittsfield. Like that was the shirt that I had made when I did the show here. That was my new shirt. The reason I had that was it's like 15 years, man, of going all over and wrestling on the road and wrestling in small places and you know doing it because I love it and doing it not because of the pay, but to do it here back home where people know me. Like I said, what can I get? So the picture on the back is a tattoo that I have on my forearm, and obviously my last name on the back of it, and that is my real last name. If anybody's wondering, I don't know if I should have said that. If there's any stalkers out there,
Right.
but that is my real last name, and the picture on the back is my tattoo, and then the front it just says, blood, my blood, my sweat, your tears. Like just very basic, like you know, for people who were like happy to see me coming back here, doing what I've been doing, and to be able to get there and see that. I sold quite a few of those shirts during that show, and before it, I sold some. So I mean, I did do pretty good with that. Um,
I didn't put
but
the. Okay, hang on one sec. Here is the back of that shirt. I didn't have.
oh,
I was only showing the front.
that's all right.
Because I didn't.
Zach is just
Well, hang on. I got the back right here. I forgot when you sent it to me. I thought it was literally just the same picture twice.
oh
So
no, one's
no,
the front, one's the back.
there's the back. There is the back. I like that design. It actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it's something I came up with simple. It was just like I said, it was my tattoo, which is like the picture of a fallen angel, and my last name, and then the front of it is basically, like I said, my blood, my sweat, your tears, because it was just super exciting to see people come out to see me that night, and know that all my hard work and dedication to it, and ups and downs and everything like that with it really just paid off, and it kind of like culminated to that night, like being able to do it in front, like my father was there, my girlfriend and her son were there, you know family, friends, supporters, people that really just truly believed in it. And you always get that. You always get people who are always going to say that, oh, you always knew you could do it. We always knew you could do it. Well, maybe you say that now, but you weren't always saying that,
Yeah.
because it's just like anything else. It's like with people with music, people who strive to have a great music career or sing or play instruments, and they want a band, and oh, my band's going to be a big band, and we're going to make it, and we're going to make it. And, it's just, some people don't believe that, that dreams do come true, and that you work hard enough at anything, like you can get there. It's just like anything else. It's a job, and
Yeah. No,
somebody's got
exactly.
to do that job, and if you're a doctor or a lawyer and you say, I want to go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer, 99% of the times everybody else is like, oh yeah, you'll definitely do it. Nobody's like, oh, you're too stupid to be a doctor. That's not going to happen. But people don't want to believe that things like being an actor or an actress or a musician or a professional wrestler or a pro athlete, oh, you're not good enough. Like, why? You're not going to be a baseball player. You're not going to be a wrestler. You're not going to be a musician. You're not going to get paid to do something that you absolutely love to do and make tons of money doing it. Well, I don't make tons of money doing it, but I still absolutely love to do it, and I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
this is going to be kind of interesting. So usually we're winding down here a little bit. But usually towards the end of the interviews, I've always done this. I've always flipped it and had always asked who I'm talking to if they ever have a question for me. Now, knowing that we know each other so well, that this is going to be interesting to hear what you have to ask me, if anything.
So I would probably ask you, because I would say to you, what made you get into wrestling? I know who kind of made you get into wrestling, but like what about that made you get into wrestling?
So getting into to do what, interviews?
To do the interviews and to just your love for wrestling and what brought you to do this.
So for anybody, I've told the story a couple times, but for anybody that hasn't heard it yet, my mom used to work at the corporate office of KB Toys, when that was a thing back in the day, and I was probably about 7, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 6, younger, and she brought me there. Didn't really know why, and they had a wrestler come in and talk to all of us, and it was the Hurricane, and he.
Who I might add, I loved him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, still totally jealous that you talk to him on a weekly basis, but that's besides the point. Yeah, he came in and totally back when he was the Hurricane, like young Hurricane, the light green hair and and to me, being a young kid and seeing that, I'm like, well, this is a superhero right in front of me, like superhero character and the flashiness and all that. I had a wrestling buddy, actually. I didn't tell you that part either. I had a wrestling buddy, and those pillows back in the day.
Oh yeah, I have 2 of them. I have Hogan and Warrior.
Okay. Yeah, see, I had I don't know where it is, but I had DDP.
Okay.
I didn't know it was DDP at the time, but yeah, it was DDP, and I remember walking up to him and I was holding it, and he asked me why. I think he asked me why I had that one or whatever, but I was so young, and so I got into wrestling by that, and then I started watching, and then I'm like, well, this dude doesn't win much, so he must not be that great. So, and then this up and youngcomer named John Cena showed up on the scene in the rapping gimmick, hustle to loyalty and respect, Dr. Thumbicks. And to me, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, I was, a little bit older at the time, so then, once that phase of Cena coming in, not as the prototype or anything like that, like, once he had the match with Kurt Angle, I was hooked. I was watching that, like, one of my first SmackDown lives, SmackDown I've ever been to, was at, you'll know, it was the Pepsi Arena back then. It wasn't, was no Times Union, was no whatever they're calling it.
MVP.
Yeah, MVP Arena. No, it was, it was the Pepsi Arena, and it was, I'll always remember it was Eddie Guerrero teaming up with Rey Mysterio. And they had Carlito outside shoveling snow in a sling. I like always will remember that. But yeah, then Cena's been my favorite for the whole entire time. Even when he changed the gimmick up to the Fruity Pebbles gimmick, different T-shirts every week. And then even till now, like I still consider him one of my favorites. Would I love to see him wrestling again? Of course. Will I pop for him every time I hear those trumpets? Of course I will. Um, but other than that, then Bray Wyatt came along with the Fiend, and then he did his thing, and me, knowing me with Halloween, I love the Halloween stuff, so I'm like, of course, I'm gonna get into that.
Right.
Like I have the burnt Fiend mask for for like $200, I think it was at the time.
Oh, really? You
mm,
got that? That is pretty cool.
I was gonna try to get to do that at 13 Nights one year if I was able to, but um, it's not one that you want to really wear and tear all the time, But
Not for $200.
yeah, especially if you're going into woods. But
Right.
um, yeah, and as far as the whole interviewing thing came along, it kind of came along out of nowhere, kind of like my channel when I made this channel, it was never. I wasn't even planning on doing anything on YouTube. It was literally just back in the day. Here, hearing me say that, I can only imagine what you're well, you're saying that like when YouTube was first starting out, like you had to sign up, make an account just to watch YouTube videos, or else you wouldn't be able. You remember those days?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah. So like, if you didn't have a YouTube account, you couldn't watch YouTube. You couldn't just go onto YouTube and click on videos and stuff like that. So I made one. This is actually my started as my personal channel, believe it or not, my personal name, and then I came up with the crazy idea of coming up with roller coaster theme park review and vlogging in the parks and stuff like that. And the original name I wanted to do was Coaster Mania, but there's actually
Yeah.
already something called Coaster Mania. It's an event, and I didn't want didn't want to get confused or mixed up with that. So Maniacs was the next best thing, and um, started doing theme park stuff. Didn't start to go well, and then the pandemic happened. Didn't really like. My goal was to go from park to park to park to park to park, like a lot of other theme park people do. Like go California, like Europe if I could, stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
pandemic happened. That cost money to do. So then I ended up doing drum corps stuff because I'm huge into music. Like I can learn a song on the guitar, trumpet, piano, anything you name it in like 5 minutes flat without reading
Really?
music because I can't read music. So I hear it and I can
And you can do
literally
it.
just play it. Yep. Like I have a keyboard right over there, I have a
Feel like
piano right over there, and I have a guitar and I can pick it up.
Amadeus, huh?
Was that?
Like Amadeus.
Oh yeah, no, literally. Like I used to, when people used to actually listen to the radio, I I used to have the radio right next to me, and by the time it was halfway through the song, I already had like how to play the chorus and all that stuff down. And
Really?
well, it's also like in the family. My grandfather was big into that. With he taught himself how to play "Devil Went Down to Georgia" on the violin, so like it's in the blood. Um, but then I was gonna go down to being in the drum corps, and because I don't know if you know, the drum corps was big in the city too here back in the day. Like drum corps, like
Yeah.
wrestling and drum corps were like huge in Pittsfield.
Yeah.
Um, and I was gonna go down to Long Island, be part of them, and then that whole like the Pittsfield parade stopped doing their parade for a couple of years, so I of course fell out with that. And then out of nowhere, I did wrestling reviews in the past where I had the things up on the screen. They did all right, so I'm like, let's go back into that. And then for some reason, I decided to contact um, James Ellsworth on the
Yeah.
Cameo and asked him if he would be interested in doing an interview. Not
Right.
expecting a damn thing, and then next thing you know, I'm talking to James Ellsworth on on a live stream, and then all of a sudden that turned into like Thunder Rosa, who turned into Carlito, who turned into Chris Masters, to Chris Van Vliet, to Arcade Matt, who is another YouTuber, to Luigi PS3, to all these like the GTS roster, like all these big names, and then like 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 you said with it's like with wrestling in the indies, like you go back to the days where we met, and you tell me, hey, 7, 8 years from now, you'll be talking to Carlito, Chris Master, like all these people. I'll be like, yeah, you're funny. like,
Right.
like what? So it's the same deal. Like it blows me away, but it's also like, all right, yeah, like I'm willing to talk to anybody and everybody. You know, like no one's too big, no one's too small. You know.
Right.
And
And that's a great way to do it too.
yeah, and there is one question I always get too is, hey, how come you don't change your channel name? Quite simply because it's just the brand that I've always had. It's something that I'm proud of having, and I never thought I would make it past 10 subscribers, and I'm sitting at 813. So there you go. Like
Yeah.
that's, you know, if I were to change my name to something wrestling related, I would. I don't know. It would be like I spent so much time building what my channel is
Right.
now, and then just it'd be like just all of a sudden not like for you like your brand with Rando and like indie scene and then like with WWE of course you'll switch it up, but for something like this it's like I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
But
And that's the thing is I love your attitude about the whole like nobody's too big, nobody's too small because you never know who's gonna be too big.
yeah, and
Like
matter of fact, I think I told you this yesterday too. I got that advice from Chris Van Vliet himself.
yeah.
Like he told me like you never want like of course you're gonna want the mega interviews. You're gonna want to talk to your John Cena's, your Stone Colds, your Rocks, but you can't expect to be there right from the get go. Like
Right.
Anybody, just interview anybody. Like if you have a ring post, interview the ring post. Like
Well,
anyway.
and that's how I mean, that's like we were taught like in practice is like you wrestle a broom.
Yeah.
You can wrestle a broom. You can wrestle anybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's a great, and you just keep going, and you just keep going, and even though when you get like you've had the bigger names, but you don't just continue to go up, you go and you still go and do somebody like me or whatever, and then you'll go to somebody next, and they might be bigger. Well,
Yeah.
they'll probably be bigger than me, but you'll go to somebody next, but then you'll go to somebody else, and then you'll go to somebody. But everybody has things to contribute, and I think that's the thing is like you never know who you're talking to. You never know who's talking.
Yeah, you never know who's talking. You never know who's listening. You never know. That's
Right.
the beauty of it is that you never know. And years from now, like I said this before, like we'll have to definitely do this again.
Yeah.
In the future, and see like I'm very interested. I'm sure if you're watching too, you'll be interested to see where Rando ends up in like even a year's time. See where that is, or even like
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and that's the same thing. Is like I never, you don't expect everything overnight. You don't get frustrated, and you don't, say, oh well, it just didn't happen overnight. Like it's just not gonna happen. Like you can't look at it that way. You just got to keep going, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I think the journey is also the fun part of it too.
And you guys will have to let me know in the comments too if you want to see more of the indie stuff. Like we might have an idea in our minds of something possibly happening in an indie show soon. Possibly, it might happen, might not. But always be on the lookout for stuff like that. If you're interested in it, definitely leave a comment. Let us know. Leave a like if you haven't already. And yeah. Hey man, I would go longer. It's almost 12:30, so.
All right.
I do appreciate your time. It's again, you're one of my good friends, so it's like definitely different than what I've ever done on here before. So.
No, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, if you haven't already, where can the people find you? I know you said your Facebook or.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can, like I said, that's my name. So you type in Rando, you'll see me. Justin, obviously. If you go on Instagram, it's, like I said, it's Rando XXL. You can find me on Instagram. And Twitter, I believe, is LoganX, @LoganX. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But I haven't been on it in a while, but I should go back to it. I told you yesterday, so sometimes I go in spurts. I'll go on it, and I'll be on it for a while, and then I won't be on it. And then I'll go on it for a while, and I won't be on it. I don't know. Twitter was just one of those things I never, got into 100%. But, yeah, find me on there.
Watch, you're gonna go to like one of the shows and you'll see a Rando sign in the in the
Yeah,
crowd.
right?
I mean, that'd be pretty cool, though.
It would. It would.
Be like going like, what if that happened? You were out there as a security guard, and next thing you know, somebody's popping up with a rando like.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even
be
know.
like, put that down. Man, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah.
would be.
Hey, stick around for a second afterwards, and we'll talk some more before I head out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, give us a like, share on all the social medias, and I don't have anything lined up yet for our next guest or anything. As you know, I work a lot, so trying to set something up is always. I always say I'm always still in contact with Santino Morella. He's still one of my next ones up, and Lita possibly. But yeah, the variety of guests are endless. So that's what I say. Like Undertaker said it best in the Hall of Fame speech: "Never be content." So
no, and never say never.
Never say never. Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I just want to thank everybody who listened, anybody who listened, and thank you too.
Yeah, no worries, man. Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys, that is it for this show. We will see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your night, and thanks for joining us. Peace.
Peace.